Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Abandoned and Joined Academy of Rosario plus Vampire Movie. Before we start, please go support Draconarius23 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. After the Trihexa incident, Hyodou Issei lives happily with his girls, and all is peace. 9 months after the Trihexa incident, the girls, preoccupied with their responsibilities, neglect Issei and begin spending time with more handsome boys, which I'll explain in the prologue. With only Rias' emotional support, Issei decides to reconsider and find a way to move on. Meanwhile, Zersic receives a request from Yasaka for the Sekiryuutei to attend an academy where the supernatural is normalized to prevent an organization from bringing back the Shinzum, Alucard. Issei accepts after 3 months where the girls ignore him and decides to use this mission to think things through. Join Issei Hyodou on an adventure where he will meet more girls and allies to stop those who threaten the peace that exists. Clarifications. 1. This is the most fundamental point and it is no betrayal whatsoever because I don't give a damn about that. The girls, except for Rias, neglected their own affairs, focusing on that and not on Issei's attempts to improve their relationship. They have friends, read that right, friends, and Issei, seeing them happy, thinks the worst. Rias is the only one who supports Issei, which is why he doesn't get depressed. Ravel is also spared, along with Elmhild, since one went to the underworld to train as a good wife and the other for the same purpose, plus some diplomatic business among the vampires. Yasaka will ask Issei for help in investigating the fairy tale organization by sending him to Yakai Academy. Yasaka has a light relationship with Issei. Issei will study, again, to learn that information, he will meet several Yakai girls and so on. 5. It will be a harem. I'd better not put it since they already know that's how I am. 6. Rias will scold the girls very strongly for pushing Issei away. 7. R plus B's harem will be larger than the originals and don't tell me otherwise because that's how it will be. 9. There will be a few girls from other anime like Yaukais and I already know who they are, I'll just say that there will be a rain woman among them XD. Prologue. 9 months after the victory and sealing Trihexa, thanks to the collaboration of the entire alliance and help from a spell of ancient origins that Rossweisse discovered in her research, all was peace. Peace brought much to do after the destruction caused by that damned chimera. Much work and more work could only mean one thing: damn paperwork, or so the faction leaders thought. The alliance did what it could and thanks to the support of several mythological beings and 2 of the 3 Dark Lords comprised of the oldest and most powerful Yaokai who stopped a creature almost as dangerous as Trihexa, they made humans forget about the threat that nearly destroyed them all. During that time, several of the young demons have been training to surpass themselves, like Sekiryuutei. Another example is better, he's already strong and always trains. Riser, who has been training his powers to surpass his brother Ruvel. Sekvera, who has been training his magic and increasing his IQ to have more strategies in battle. Sona was training to be able to surpass her sister in the future, and Rias has been training her power of destruction to reach her Ani-sama. Some very promising young players. Plus the 2 celestial dragons and their training, so they wouldn't look foolish again in the face of another threat equal to or stronger than Trihexa. If Vali Lucifer and Issei Hyodou were training to strengthen their powers well, Vali was always more disciplined than Issei, but the brunette compensated with enthusiasm. The point is, they were training after all. Issei can now use the Diabolus dragon for longer, and Vali. But now we'll focus on the Sekiryuutei Hyodou Issei, who has been depressed lately. The reason? Well, for about 6 months now, several of the girls haven't spoken to him or have acted distantly towards him. He hopes it's just due to the stress of his job, but he's experiencing the same feeling he had when the fallen angel Yuma, Rainer, didn't kill Issei. Yuma was the form Rainer took to get close to him. She and Kalwarner are alive, and Mitlet is with the albino fighting addict, that insecurity that formed when he thought no one would love him. That's why he now thinks the girls are distancing themselves from him. Only Rias has been paying attention to him since she noticed this and it bothered her, but she let it go, thinking they were probably busy. Akeno was constantly going back and forth to Gregory to visit her father, and she also had university assignments, but according to the annoyed Rainer and Kalwarner, Akeno has been frequented by a high-ranking fallen angel, and she doesn't avoid him. She has even been seen laughing with him, but nothing more. Asia and Zenobia have been busy with their duties and were also in different classrooms than the chestnut-haired boy. According to Ika, she saw them talking to 2 boys who came from abroad, from Europe to be exact, and that keeps them entertained. Rossweisse's work at school and the constant calls from Asgard didn't leave her time with the brunette. She's been talking to her grandmother about how to proceed without dying of embarrassment, since despite seeming serious and all. With Kuroka, she went to Kyoto to train under Megari's tutelage, although according to Kum's letters, there is a yokai who has been close to her, and they have been living together. According to Kum, Kuroka seems happy, which made Issei sad, but he calmed down when he knew that he had no chance with the beautiful black-haired girl, without knowing that the yokai only wanted to meet Kuroka and ask for advice on how to deal with the nekomata he is dating. Haneko has been busy studying, which pleased him, but he was saddened to learn that she was asking a third-year student for help with her studies, and that made him feel useless, because he was only focused on his perversion and kept her from asking him for help. All of that accumulated in Issei and it hurt him. Rias has been his pillar ever since. He hasn't seen Ravel or Elmhild, but they sent him letters. According to Razor, his sister is training to be a good wife, and Elmhild also sends him letters and said the same thing as Ravel. But diplomatic matters with the vampires also keep her busy, and Sakvara's frequent visits have calmed him down a little. Even Yasaka's infrequent visits have kept him distracted from that, since it hurt him to see the girls he wanted to have a good relationship with busy or somewhat distant with him. Present. Issei was waking up with Rias in his arms. "Good morning, love," the Redhead said, smiling. "Good morning," Issei replied, kissing Rias. "It seems we're alone again," the brunette said, feeling both sad and happy, seeing that they were the only ones in bed. "Ah, don't worry love, even though they have driven you away, you have me, Ravel and Elmhild, even Yasaka-sama and even Sakvara, who is amazing that she comes to see you, don't be sad, okay?" said Rias, placing her soft hand caressing Issei's cheek, who smiled at her. "Thank you Rias, that's what I love about you, you know how to make me feel better," Issei said, taking Rias by the waist and pulling her onto him to kiss her lovingly. "And I can do it another way, love fufufu," said the Redhead with a sensual smile as she caressed Issei's private parts, who let her do it. "Rias, don't tempt me, you know what will happen if you do," Issei said in a hoarse voice, remembering the day they both spent locked in the room for half a day. Of course, no girl was there that day, as they were busy with outings with friends, leaving the couple to make love. "Fufu, and what do you think I want, LOVOTHRE," said Rias as she kissed Issei, who squeezed her butt. "Ah," she moaned. "Now then, my crimson princess, we won't be going out for a while," said Issei. "Ah, that's what I want, Ice," the Redhead said excitedly as Issei kissed her neck. After those words, moans and the sound of skin against skin were heard. It was good that the girls left early for their daily activities so as not to disturb the couple. -4 hours later. After making love, going to take a shower where they continued making love, and getting dressed, Rias decided to prepare lunch for Issei, who was in the living room playing Mortal Kombat on his Xbox One. "Love," Rias said, entering the room already dressed and wearing an apron. Issei paused the game as Rias sat on his lap. Elsewhere, several lawless, namely Kaneko, Kun, Office, Lilith and Ravel, sensed danger on their property and kissed him. "The food is ready," she said, putting her head on Issei's chest, who hugged her around the waist. "Okay," he said, picking her up bridal style. "Let's go," he said, and they both went to eat. While they were eating, someone appeared in the room in a magic circle. "Ah," sighed the girl who had just arrived, who was none other than Irina, coming after helping Gabriel with the paperwork Michael had entrusted to him. "Home sweet home, I can't wait to kiss darling," she said until she smelled a wonderful aroma. It must be darling and Ria-san," said Irina, heading to the kitchen. "Darling, I'm back," said the brunette with pigtails, hugging Issei, who received the affection and returned the kiss. "Irina, it's great that you're back," said Issei, happy that Irina had returned after 3 months of absence. "Yes, ever since Michael-sama left that annoying paperwork with Gabriel-sama, I haven't had any time to send letters," the brunette complained with a pout. "Oh, hello Ria-san, I'm sorry, but I already missed darling," she apologized to Rias, who shook her head with a smile. "It doesn't matter, Irina, I would have done the same if I hadn't had my ice around," Rias said. After that they ate together and then talked about what had happened while Irina was absent. She already knows that the girls distanced themselves from Issei. "So they're still the same," said Irina, sitting next to Rias and Issei on an armchair. She was on the right, hugging Issei's arm between her breasts. "Yes," Issei said dejectedly as both girls kissed his cheeks. "Don't worry, love, that will pass, although it bothers me, before Akeno used to fight over you, and now she doesn't even look at you again," said the Redhead sitting to Issei's left, annoyed. "Yes, I can't believe that Zenobia and Asia drove you apart, especially Asia, who was the closest to you," said Irina. "It doesn't matter, that's all in the past. I know you're busy, although with what Ika told me about Asia and Zenobia, I wasn't expecting it. But I'd better leave it at that. I mean, I'm not one to tell you who to love. Then there's what Kum said about Kuroka, but I'm no one to interfere in who she can love either. But you know what," Issei said sadly, then smiled. "I have you, Ravel, Elmhild, and Ross with me, and that makes me happy." Issei hugged both girls, who blushed at his words and returned the gesture. Time skip. -1 week. That week, Issei received a letter from Rossweisse saying she would arrive soon and another from Ravel saying she was doing well and that her mother was teaching her a lot about being a good wife. He also received a visit from Sekiryuutei, who had become friends with Issei after he became king of his own retinue. They shared a love for mecha and Issei expressed his desire to pilot EVA Unit 01 or Unit 00. They talked about as Heir's was the only place he could discuss such topics without being bothered. He also went out with her and the girls, Rias and Arena, to a convention in Akihabara where he gave Sekiryuutei a limited edition figure of Neo Granzan, one of EVA Unit 01, another of Gurren Lagann, another of Genesis Geiger, and another of Getter Emperor. She gave him a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Of course, when she noticed what Issei was trying to do, pretending to be serious, but the blush on her face was useless. She bought Rias both of Alucard's pistols from the Helsing and gloves like Roy Mustang's, and Luffy's hat. She received a big kiss under the jealous gaze of many boys there. She bought Arena a headband and necklace, receiving a kiss as well, only this time no one saw it since they were in private. Meanwhile, he bought the volumes he was missing from One Piece, Jump Force, and figurines of Broly, Gohan, Naruto, Gon, Natsu, Ranma, Inuyasha, and Luffy in Tank Man mode, Gear 4th. After that, Sekiryuutei left happily with her merchandise, then Arena had to return to heaven since she was called again, Gabriel, leaving Rias alone with Issei and well, what had to happen happened. The good thing was that they soundproofed the room to avoid interruptions, the girls were at home talking quietly. He also received a visit from Tiamat, who has been visiting him lately. Apparently, according to Drake, she's interested in him despite him being her Jinchuriki. Of course, Tiamat wants to grape him without him realizing it, and Drake, being the good friend he is, doesn't say anything. Along with a short training session with Kiba, who was free after dropping his girlfriend Tosca off at home, he still wonders why he didn't stay with Tsubaki too, but that doesn't matter, since he's been talking to her while visiting Yura to train together. It seems Tsubaki has already put Kiba in the past, despite having loved him. She's even spoken with Rias and she gave up on Kiba. Ryakusaka can always be good company. At this moment we find Issei lying down with Rias after another round of lovemaking. I don't know what to do. Training with any of the girls isn't an option, since Heir is an extremist in training, Volley is all about fighting, Cao will look for an opportunity to hit me, Razor won't because he'll always bring up things about his entourage, and all that, Taninosen won't work because she has to take care of her children, Bova won't be able to keep up with me, and Crom loses his mind when we train and is even capable of killing me. What should I do? Issei thought. You're passing this Gremory girl by like a rabbit, so stop complaining. Besides, you need to find pieces for your retinue, although I imagine you already have someone in mind to bring back from your retinue, right? Drake asked. First, screw you, what Rias and I do is our business and not your perverted dragons, and second, I already have some candidates for the entourage, although some haven't spoken to me in a while, Issei said to his friend. Well, you could look for them later. I mean, the Valkyrie is in Asgard, but you can tell her later. The Phoenix girl will accept without hesitation, and those others, who I imagine are the blonde ex-nun and the girl from Durandal, you can leave them out or not. I mean, it's your decision, but as I said, you have time, so don't worry, since I think pieces will come to you in the future, Drake said to his friend, who just sighed. Yes, you're right, I have time so I won't worry for now, Issei said, taking a break. After a while, Rias and Issei got up to have breakfast. They were eating when a communication circle appeared in Issei's ear. Ice-kun, how are you? Asked the voice of a certain red-haired Siskin. Oh, Nai-san, I'm fine, what's wrong? Issei asked his brother-in-law. I have a message for you from Yusaka, Zersich said. Yusaka? And what's it about? Issei asked, intrigued that she wasn't asking him directly. Apparently she has a mission and asked me to let you know, so I want you to go to her, so I can give you the details of the mission, Zersich said. A mission? Said Issei and Rias looked at him intrigued. Well, I'll go, since I want to see what Yusaka wants and also visit her, and come, said Issei and Rias looked at him surprised. I'm glad, I've already been informed about the mission's content, but I want you to go so I can explain it to you in more detail, so I'll see you there, Zersich said, ending the call. Ugh, it seems I have work to do and I have to go to Kyoto to see Yusaka, Issei said to Rias, who, upon hearing Kyoto, became excited, and Issei smiled at that. I want you to come with me so we can go for a walk after Yusaka fills me in on the mission, Issei said, and Rias nodded. They finished their breakfasts and changed to go to Kyoto with a special magic circle that Yusaka had given Issei. Moments later. Kyoto. Issei and Rias arrived in Kyoto where Rias almost lost control, wandering around looking for things that attracted her. Issei calmed her down by telling her that after what Yusaka wanted to tell her they could have a date, which she accepted by kissing her man deeply. When they arrived at the temple where Yasaka was, Issei and Rias walked calmly while holding hands. When they arrived, several yokai greeted them, and when they got close to Yasaka's house, he was approached by a girl. "Issei," was the excited and joyful cry of a small blonde kitsune who launched herself at Issei. The chestnut tree caught her mid-flight so she wouldn't get hurt. "Hello Kun-chan, how have you been?" Issei asked the little kitsune who looked at him smiling happily. "It feels so much better to see you again," the little girl said, looking at Rias. "Hello, Rias-san," the blonde greeted. "Hello Kun," the retard greeted with a smile. "Is your mom here, Kun-chan?" Issei asked. "Yes, come, I'll take you to her," she said, climbing onto Issei's shoulders, and in the dimensional rift, a loli felt her place being taken away. They were taken to Yasaka's office. Issei saw Kuroka talking to a monkey yokai, both of them quite cheerful. He smiled bitterly but continued on his way. Only Rias noticed and squeezed his hand, comforting the brown-haired boy, who thanked her with a smile. Unbeknownst to him, Kuroka had noticed Issei, but upon seeing him with Rias and Kun, she left him. She would have time for him when she returned home. They arrived where Yasaka was. "Akasama, Issei came," said Kun as the older blonde quickly approached the three of them. "Ice Kun, you came," Yasaka said happily. "Of course, Nai-san mentioned something about a mission, and it was the perfect excuse to come, although I was also planning to come and spend time with you too," Issei said, and Yasaka smiled and hugged Issei, who returned the gesture. "I'm so glad to hear from you, and even more so knowing that Rias doesn't mind," Yasaka said, looking at Rias who smiled. "It doesn't matter, I know Ice will love me even if he has other women around him," she said, and Yasaka nodded happily. Yasaka kissed Issei, and he didn't complain and responded, a kiss with tongue from both of them, while Issei hugged her by her hexy waist. Kun saw this with a pout. "Akasama, that's not fair, I want a kiss from Issei too," complained the loli, making the three of them laugh. "When you're older, Kun, you won't be able to until now," Yasaka said, and Kun pouted. "Hahaha, well, let's get down to business," said Issei, making Yasaka look at him seriously. "What's this about, Yasaka?" he asked. "Ice-kun, I need your help on a mission," she said. "There's an academy on the coast of Tokyo, protected by a barrier that prevents humans from detecting it. It's called Yokai Academy, an academy just for yokai to live alongside humans," Yasaka explained. "Wow, that's impressive," Issei said. "Did such a place exist?" Issei asked. "Yes, it's just that with everything that's happened I haven't been able to tell you about it," Rias said. "Did you know about this?" Issei asked his girlfriend. "Haha, sorry love," she apologized. "Don't worry," Issei said, downplaying the situation as he looked at Yasaka while holding Kun in his lap. "And what does that academy have to do with Yasaka?" Issei asked. "Well, I've heard rumors that a group, about which nothing has been discovered yet, is carrying out illegal acts. I called you to see if you would like to pose as a first-year student and investigate what is happening in that place," Yasaka requested. Issei, for his part, thought if he wanted to know about that organization, he would have to study from scratch again, and that would bore him, but Yasaka needed his help and he didn't want to leave her without support. She sought him out. He imagined she didn't look for anyone else, since volley was all about fighting and no studying, and others weren't a good option. Besides, it was his new girlfriend who asked him, and he had to help her. "I guess I'll have to start high school from scratch, right?" Issei asked. "Unfortunately, yes, but don't worry, you can take a special exam so you don't have to hand in assignments and all that. You'll just have to pretend to study and that's it. Your studies will finish normally and you can take university online while you investigate that strange organization," Yasaka said, and Issei was convinced. "Fine, I accept anything to help you and dismantle a small attempt at a cow's brigade, haha," Issei said humorously at the end. Yasaka was pleased. Her new partner would help her. "I knew I could count on you, Ice-kun," Yasaka said gratefully, looking at Rias. "It doesn't bother you that I'm taking him away from you so suddenly, does it?" she asked, worried about the answer, but relieved to see the retard smile. "Don't worry, I've left Issei in your hands. I do want to visit him on weekends," Rias said. Okay, that's fine since I could give a special permit and let the academy director know that I authorized it," Yasaka said, nodding. He then gave more details about the mission. According to sources within the school, the current headmaster, one of the three Dark Lords, Mikagami Tenmei, is a very powerful Kishin who fought alongside two others to seal Alucard, a Shinso with power equivalent to Drake and Albion combined. Legends say he caused more trouble than both Celestials until 200 years ago when they finally managed to seal him. To say that Rias and Issei were impressed was to say they were both virgins, an absolute lie. After that, Yasaka told him that in a few days she would introduce him to one of the academy's teachers who would instruct him in things related to the academy. Then the four of them went out to have some fun, spending a pleasant day where Rias and Yusaka took every opportunity to kiss Issei, and Kun, jealous of this interaction, was appeased with kisses on the cheek from the brunette, making her blush and alerting several lollies that Issei knew. Including a little soul-blinding girl who was watching her favorite program, yes, the one about Op-Eye Dragon and Switch Princess. All under the sad gaze of a black cat with two tails, who watched the interaction between the two women and Issei, remembering that she had left him aside because she was so busy with her own things. Ice Naya was the sad whisper that came from the cat with a feminine voice, as she left to think of how to make Issei forgive her. Meanwhile, far away, another black cat looked at the chestnut-haired cat with some interest. So they want to get me to marry him, I don't know, but maybe I'll accept if I find him worthy, the cat thought as he left. After that, Issei went home with Rias to finish what they had started the night before. And so, with a small job, Issei will enter a new adventure full of yokai, an organization less dangerous than Chaos Brigade, and of course girls he will meet along his journey. But that's a story for later. End of prologue. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. -2 days later. Hyodou residence. Issei's room. -8 a.m. In Issei's room, on the bed, were two people, Rias and Issei, both naked after their favorite activity, well, it's Rias' favorite. They were both holding each other very close, with Rias resting her head on his chest. They were at peace. Issei stared at the ceiling, thinking about Yusaka's proposal. He thought his life would have little action since the war against that psychopathic imbecile Risavum had ended, and that was sometimes boring, but he was glad because he spent almost all his time with Rias, even though she had matters to attend to. Now this will be interesting, studying at an academy for yokai, haha, even I didn't see that coming, Issei thought. Me neither, I already knew about that academy, but I forgot to tell you since I thought it was irrelevant information, although the good thing is that you'll only have to pretend to study, since it will be tedious to receive the same thing again, haha said Drake. Issei just laughed at that since he was right. At that moment Rias began to wake up, and when she lifted her gaze from her beloved's chest, she saw him and smiled beautifully before kissing his lips. Good morning, love, Rias said to Issei, who gave her a kiss, but a deeper one. Haha, good day my Hexiredeed said Issei smiling at Rias who blushed a little because of the Hexiredeed. They both decided to get up, although it was difficult for Rias due to her nighttime activities. They have become very active and, taking advantage of the fact that the girls now sleep in their rooms, they do it often, although without them knowing, a sadistic black-haired girl touches herself while listening to the couple. Akeno, although jealous of Rias for spending the night with Issei, touches herself thinking about her and Issei, although now she regrets leaving Issei alone for so long, and would look for a way to apologize to Rias for being an idiot and then to Issei for leaving him alone. After some kisses and caresses in the bathroom, they changed and decided to go downstairs for breakfast. As they went downstairs they saw the girls who were having breakfast, and when they saw them coming downstairs they greeted them. Good morning Rias, Ice-kun, Akeno greeted with a smile and a slight blush upon seeing Issei. Good morning Rias Onasama, Ice-san, Asia said, smiling. And so they all greeted the two who saw them, although Issei downplayed it and only responded with a simple good morning. He might love those girls, but now he would be the one to give them that silent treatment that would hurt them, but they knew they deserved it. Upon receiving Issei's cold greeting, they all lowered their heads. Akeno and the rest knew they deserved it, since spending time busy and talking with their friends had made them forget about Issei, and now they were repaying him with cold treatment. Issei sat next to Rias away from the others, they ate the breakfast that Asia and Akeno prepared, thanked them and decided to go for a walk, leaving the girls alone there. Ai-san hates us, Asia said, on the verge of tears. No, Asia-chan, he doesn't hate us, he's just upset because we ignored him all this time, Akeno said sadly. Said Zenobia, very devastated at being treated like this by Issei, but she deserved it, she ignored the future father of her children for a long time. Rias Butchu has Ai-senpai sent, Kaneko said stoically but sadly. Akeno already knew that whenever she returned home early, she would hear Rias and Issei making love, and that hurt her quite a bit. They all fell silent, deciding to find a way to fix everything, but first they would go to Rias, since she is the one who spends the most time with Issei. But Issei and Rias. Streets of Kuo. Rias and Issei were walking very close together, with Rias clinging to Issei's arm and smiling. Issei was the envy of all the boys in the place, seeing that he had such a girl by his side. I don't know what they're thinking, do they think they can be this close to you when they ignored you for so long? Rias said, somewhat annoyed. Issei just put his hand around her shoulders. It doesn't matter, I'll just ignore their attempts to get closer. Maybe I'll talk to them again later. Right now, all that matters is spending time together, Issei said, and Rias smiled at that. They spent the rest of the day strolling around the city, bought a few things, and Issei gave her a necklace with a ruby pendant. The Redeed gave him a kiss as thanks. They went to eat at a McDonald's, like in every an IMXD, where Issei ate a lot, the perils of being a demon dragon XD. A few girls tried to talk to Issei, but Rias kept pushing them away, kissing him and stuff, and the brunette didn't even realize why. Some people never change their stupid ways XD. They went to an arcade where Rias beat Issei in Jump Force, but Issei got his revenge in Forza, leaving Rias far behind in almost every race. Then they went to buy manga. Issei bought Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Riding, Tenjo Tenj, Ikitousen, the remaining volumes of Kenichi, and Infection, while Rias bought Watari-kun, no XX ga Houkai. Sunzen, Akame Georgia Kill Zero, Killing Bites, Rinai Bauken, and Darling in the Franxx. Then they left and decided to stop for a while in the park, unaware that they would meet someone there who would become important to Issei. Guo Park. 6 p.m. Rias and Issei walked hand in hand through the park. The things they bought were sent by a magic circle to Issei's room. As they walked, they heard something, or rather someone. Mew they heard someone singing, which for Issei was the most beautiful song he had ever heard. What a beautiful voice, said Issei, and Rias just nodded. Guided by the beautiful song, they arrived at the fountain and in front of it, a beautiful girl with purple hair and orange eyes, sang while particles of light surrounded her. Mew it was she who sang that beautiful melody that warmed Issei's heart and relaxed him. Issei and Rias saw how good she was at singing and decided to watch her, until the singing stopped when they saw them. "Oh no," she said in a soft and cute voice that made Issei blush a little, but Rias pinched his face. We're sorry if we're bothering you, it's just that when we passed by we heard someone singing and it was very beautiful, so when we got here, we heard you singing and well what can I say, you sing well," said the chestnut-haired boy and Rias Sainsha, looking embarrassed. That made the girl blush as she spoke shyly. Thank you," she said, thanking the two of them, who smiled at her. Then she realized something and asked, "Are you a dragon?" She asked specifically to Issei. "A red dragon lord?" she asked, making Issei and Rias alert to anything. She noticed this and explained herself better. "Well, Ajuka-sama said that I might know the Sekiryuutei lord and well, my song attracts dragons," she explained, which calmed them both down, and they decided to approach her to get to know her better. They spent hours talking, during which they learned her name. Ingvild Leviathan. To their surprise, she was older than she looked, having suffered from the same illness as Sererg's mother. She had been under the care of Ajuka and his men, hoping to recover. She also explained how she had arrived there, saying she wanted to see the ocean. Drake clarified that she might have been unconsciously using her demonic powers. As it was getting late, they decided to invite her to stay with them, while Rias contacted Ajuka about finding Ingvild. Hyodou residence. -7:30 p.m. At the Hyodou residence, the trio entered and found Asia, Zenobia, Kaneko, and Kuroka in the living room. Upon seeing Issei, Kuroka wanted to greet him, but he looked away, making her feel bad. Akeno came out of the kitchen wearing casual clothes and an apron. She smiled when she saw Rias and Issei, but Issei ignored it. She saw the new guest and decided to ask. "Ara? Rias, who's the guest?" the dark-haired girl asked, seeing Ingvild behind the duo. "She's a guest, she'll be here for a while, her name is Ingvild Leviathan, I won't give details about this, so I hope you all get along," Rias said, seeing the girls' astonished faces but ignoring it. After that, Rias went up to the room she shares with Issei and went to call Ajuka to explain that Ingvild is with them, while Issei decided that the purple-haired girl should introduce herself to the girls since she opened up more when talking to Asia. Issei left her with the girls while he went to Rias, who explained that the girl had a new long-winded narrated Kiri poem of the Endless Green Sea, one of the 5 new ones found, and also one of the most powerful, along with Starbuster Star Blaster. Then she told us a few more things about Ingvild's sacred gear, which was capable of controlling dragons and the sea, meaning a very powerful weapon that anyone would want to have, but since everything is calm and only a few know of its existence, only the 4 mass along with the Gremory group and Issei know of it, they are at ease. After that surprise, they decided to leave things as they were and continue calmly. They went down to dinner, with Rias and Ingvild sitting on either side of Issei, much to the jealousy of the girls, and especially a certain Nakamata who would soon talk to Issei. Time skip. 1 month later. Bus stop. Issei, along with his current queen Ingvild, spent time with him. After planning a trip to the beach with his girlfriends and the girls who had ignored him, Kuroka, who had been persistent and unreliable, realized that after losing his virginity and becoming sexually active with Rias, Kuroka's advances no longer had any effect, depressing the Nakamata. However, she decided to give Kuroka another chance. During this time, he was also visited by Roigun, who spends almost every opportunity at his house chatting with him. There seems to be an attraction between them, but they are unaware of it yet. Rainer and Kalwerner also came to see him, and both stayed close to Issei, even at night. Rias allowed Rainer and Kalwerner to sleep with Issei, but they didn't. The two girls tried to play the fool, tempting Issei, and he ended up fainting from Hexwell swoons. After that, they spent a few more days at the Hyodou house before returning to work. Where his boss Penemu, after also spending a lot of time with his current queen, who fell in love with how dedicated, affectionate, and gentle the brunette could be with her, also that Rossweisse became his rook even though the Valkyrie almost raped him, apparently his grandmother instructed him well, I'll just say that Issei took his Valkyrie's virginity and then continued with Rias to satisfy himself. He trained more to increase his power, and what better than a purple dragon that spits meteors as a teacher, also the help of a madman with a spear, moreover being the strongest spear in the world, along with a fighting addict who also along with the madman of the spears, are your rivals. It was a load of crap, but nothing Rias, Rossweisse, Irina, who was now permanently at home, Ingvild, Ravel, who had just returned from her wife training, and Emmehild, who had also returned from Romania to be with her dragon, couldn't handle. When he told the girls he was going on a mission for a long time, they asked no, more like demanded that he go on a date with each of them, which he did. Ingvild wasn't particularly demanding, though, since she was Ria's designated escort to keep Issei from doing anything stupid there. He also met his teacher, Shizuka Nekonim, whom he'd met before while wandering around Kyoto. She hugged Issei, happy to see him again. As thanks for helping him with school, Issei then invited her to eat some of her favorite fish at the best restaurant in Kyoto. Rias, Rossweisse, Ravel, Irina, Emmehild, and Yura saw Issei and Ingvild off. Take care, okay? I don't want anything to happen to you because of any carelessness on your part, Rias said, giving Issei a hug and a kiss, which he reciprocated. Then Rossweisse approached. I hope you listen to your teachers. Even if you don't do anything in class, you shouldn't disrespect them by not paying attention, okay, darling? The Valkyrie asked, then kissed Issei, who hugged her around the waist. After they separated, it was Irina's turn, who hugged Issei very tightly. Darling, it's going to be sad without you here, but I hope you do well there, said the reincarnated angel, kissing her boyfriend, which he returned. Now it was Ravel's turn, blushing slightly, to approach the brunette. Sama, take care, don't do anything inappropriate, and do your job well, said the phoenix as Issei kissed her, which made her blush. Now it was Elmehild's turn, smiling at Issei as she approached him. I hope you're doing well, and even though the others have already said it, I'll repeat it. Take care, okay? Come back safe and sound to us, she said, kissing Issei and then biting his lip to draw a little blood, which she tasted. Your blood is always the best, haha, she said smiling, giving Issei another little kiss and then giving way to Yura, who quickly kissed Issei. Take care, my love. I hope you arrive safely and do everything right. I trust you, my love, said the blue-haired girl from Sona, kissing Issei again. He simply hugged her gently around her slender waist. After that, Rias approached again and hugged Issei. I'll feel lonely without you in bed, but I'll bear it, she said, looking at Ingvild, who was being seen off with hugs from everyone. I hope you'll make sure I don't do anything rash. I'm entrusting her to you, Ingvild, Rias said to the purple-haired girl, who nodded. Count on me, Rias-san. I-san won't do anything rash while she's with me, she said, smiling. They hugged, and then Rias and the others said their goodbyes. Take care, Rias said, and the rest imitated her and went to the Hyodou residence in a magic circle. Now we see both king and queen waiting for their transport to Yokai Academy. It's taking a while, isn't it? Issei asked, looking at his cell phone. Yes, you're right, said Ingvild, who approached Issei and leaned against him. He noticed and put his right arm around her shoulders, hugging her. A few minutes later a rather strange and gloomy school bus approached the stop. When it stopped the door opened revealing the driver of the vehicle who had a very gloomy and chilling appearance. You're the ones Yusaka Haim told me about, right? Sekiryuutei Hyodou Issei and his companion Ingvild Hyodou? Asked the driver in a somewhat eerie voice, to which Issei and Ingvild, whose last name I changed for her safety and to keep her identity a secret, well get in, to take you to Yokai Academy he said, and they both got into the empty bus. So they went upstairs where the driver got Issei to talk a little bit since Ingvild decided to rest by leaning on Issei's shoulder and he hugged her. Several minutes passed and after going through a tunnel, the surroundings changed and distorted into an amalgam of colors, indicating that they were about to arrive. So Issei kissed Ingvild on the forehead, waking her up and telling her that they were about to arrive. When they arrived, they looked out the bus windows and saw that upon exiting the tunnel they had reached a very peculiar place. To their left, a dark and terrifying forest. To their right, a sea as red as blood and a jack-o'-lantern with a tablet very strange, but they had seen strange things in their lives. We're here the driver announced, and they both got off the bus. I hope you enjoy your stay. The academy is down that path he explained, pointing to a path in the eerie forest. In the distance, a huge ancient building could be seen. Yokai Academy. I'd wish you luck and tell you to be careful, but I think that would be unnecessary, I hope you have a nice day, the man said, starting the bus and heading back the way they had come. They both saw the path leading to the academy and decided to move forward. Well. Issei said, drawing Ingvild's attention. We're here now, I hope it's not too complicated, Issei said, and Ingvild hugged his right arm and smiled at him. Don't worry, Ai-san, everything will be alright, his queen encouraged him, and Issei smiled in return. They both walked towards the academy, disappearing among the trees and venturing deeper into the gloomy forest, unaware of what the future held for the couple, new friends, and for Issei, new girls who would be with him. But all of that will only be revealed in the next chapter of this story. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Path towards Yokai Academy. Issei and Ingvild were walking hand in hand, in comfortable silence, though that ended when Ingvild began to hum a soft melody. They continued like that for a few minutes until. Kaya, new. A female scream was heard from among the bushes, and suddenly a beautiful girl with pink hair came out of them riding an out-of-control bicycle. Watch out. The girl shouted upon noticing the presence of Issei and Ingvild. When Issei saw that she was going to hurt herself, he decided to help her. Just as the girl was about to collide with him, he dodged and caught her bridal style, since she almost fell. Ingvild saw this with a slight hint of jealousy, but she let it go, since Issei was only helping the girl. She couldn't just fall in love with Issei like that, right? Hey, are you okay? Issei asked the girl in his arms, who slowly opened her eyes and blushed when she saw Issei and how he was holding her. Why yes, could you put me down, please? Asked the girl blushing from being in Issei's arms, who put her down. Sorry, haha, Issei apologized, smiling like an idiot. Ingvild pouted and pinched Issei's cheek because of it. Ai-san, don't do anything stupid, Ingvild said jealously, pulling Issei's left cheek. Okay, Ingvild-chan, it hurts, Issei said, crying comically. The pink-haired girl found that amusing and laughed sweetly, which caught the attention of the couple who stopped what they were doing to continue with what they had to do. Are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? Issei asked the girl, looking at where the bicycle had ended up. Although she was fine, the chain had come off and one of the wheels seemed to be flat. Oh, yes, I'm fine thanks to you, the girl said, smiling, making her look very beautiful. Damn, she's really beautiful, Issei thought, and Ingvild saw this and pouted while pinching Issei's arm. Ow. Okay, I'm sorry, Issei apologized to his queen, who looked away. Ah, that's nice. Let me introduce myself. I'm Hyodou Issei, and this lovely young lady beside me is Issei introduced himself, and when he tried to introduce Ingvild, she spoke first. I'm Ingvild Hyodou, nice to meet you, Ingvild said to the girl who smiled happily. Nice to meet you, Issei-san, Ingvild-chan. My name is Akashi Amoka, and it's a pla. She stopped as an exquisite aroma filled her nostrils. She noticed a trickle of blood from Issei's neck. He'd killed a mosquito that had been sucking his blood. This smell, the scent of blood. I don't. Mocha began, approaching Issei and gently taking his shoulders under Ingvild's jealous gaze. But Ingvild let it go, noticing something Issei henned. Mocha-chan, is something wrong? Issei asked doubtfully, seeing the girl in a trance. It's just I'm sorry, the thing is Mocha said, now close to Issei's neck and showing some characteristic fangs that Ingvild noticed, but Issei didn't. I thought Ai-san wouldn't get involved in any trouble, but he's already messed around with another girl. I'll have to tell Rias-san about this, Ingvild thought, looking at Issei. Was all Issei said, because. I'm a vampire, Capichu, Mocha said, biting his neck and drawing blood. Issei didn't even feel it, as Elmahal did it sometimes and he was used to it. This blood is so delicious, but why? Mocha thought ecstatically. So early, and the first being I encounter is a vampire, and a very beautiful one at that. Elmahal looks like a beautiful doll, and what a doll, hahaha, but this girl is no slouch either. She's comparable to Rias in her beauty, Issei thought, looking at Mocha's pink hair. Besides, her hair is cute, Issei thought. Mocha, after drinking blood, separated with a smile. I'm sorry about that, but like I said, I'm a vampire, and when I smelled the exquisite aroma of your blood I couldn't resist. I'm really sorry, Mocha apologized sheepishly, while Issei just put a careless smile on his face, dismissing it as unimportant. Don't worry, I didn't feel anything, but please ask me next time to avoid these surprise attacks, Issei said to Mocha. Wait, you don't hate that I'm a vampire, you're okay with me being near you, Mocha said, seeing them both looking at her. Well, I don't think so, Mocha-san. We've met vampires before, said Ingvild, remembering her friend Elmahal. Yes, although unlike you there were some who were idiots and others who were good, recalling his stay in Romania and his current girlfriend Elmahal, Gaspar and Valeria. Mocha smiled at that. I'm glad, it's good to know that you don't hate vampires, Issei-san, Ingvild-chan, Mocha said, smiling. Only with ice is it okay, that's what my friends call me, the brunette said, smiling. Okay, Ice, the girl said, smiling. So if you're okay with me being a vampire, you can be my friends. I've been feeling lonely since I don't know anyone here, Mocha said with a beautiful smile. Issei and Ingvild smiled back. I would really like that, Mocha-san, said the purple-haired girl with orange eyes as she smiled at Mocha, cheering her up. Honored to be your friend, Mocha-chan, Issei said, smiling at Mocha, who happily hugged them both. I'm so glad to finally have friends, thank you Ingvild-chan, Ice, Mocha said happily. Hahaha, you're welcome, Mocha-chan said Issei. After the opening ceremony, I hope to speak with you, Mocha said, and they both nodded. Issei approached the damaged bicycle and decided to take it. Ice, you don't need to carry it, I can do it myself said Mocha, trying to prevent her new friend, future love interest XDDD, from carrying the bicycle that she damaged by not paying attention to the road. It's not a problem, Mocha-chan, I can take her, so let's go or we'll be late for the ceremony, said Issei, and both girls nodded, although Mocha was embarrassed that her new friend was taking her bicycle. Time skip. Classroom, 1-3. Issei and Ingvild had left the auditorium, and when they looked for Mocha they couldn't find her because of the sea of boys and girls there, so they went to her classroom instead. They both arrived and noticed that no students had arrived in the room, only the teacher in charge of the group was there, who, upon seeing who were the first to arrive, was happy and did what she had done when she looked at Issei before. Ice Naya! Exclaimed Nekonim Shizuka happily, hugging Issei around the neck and rubbing her cheeks against the brunette. How are you, Naya? The woman asked the brunette who had her by the waist and felt a sharp gaze from her queen and girlfriend. Very good Shizuka, or should I say Nekonim-sensei. Issei teased her a little, causing her to pout in protest. Ooh, Ice Naya, you're mean, but yes, it's Shizuka-sensei for you, she said, playfully tapping the brunette's nose with her index finger. I hope we get along well for the rest of the year, Shizuka-sensei, Ingvild said to Shizuka while looking at her jealously. Naya, likewise Leviathan-san, or should I say Hyodou-san. I think so, to avoid any problems, Shizuka said to Ingvild, who nodded. They chatted a bit while waiting for the students, then went to their desks, which were near the windows, with Ingvild in front of Issei and an empty desk behind them. All the students arrived, and a boy who looked like Razor when Issei first met him, blonde, with an idiotic face, an unpleasant look and so on, sat to Issei's left and kept looking with a touch of lust at the beautiful Ingvild who ignored all of that. Shizuka saw it and when she was about to intervene, a look from Issei telling her not to worry, made her give up and begin her explanation. Unnecessary explanation since Issei knows what he's gotten himself into. I'll just say that if you want to know, read the manga or watch the anime, as I don't think it's necessary to write such an explanation. While Shizuka was explaining that the Yokai Academy was for monsters, obviously, and about the rules which were not to transform into their Yokai forms on school grounds and to remain in their human form in order to live better with humans. All that until the blonde imbecile spoke, interrupting the Hexy teacher. Hey, teacher said the imbecile who you already know, I honestly think even Razor is better than him, wouldn't it be better if we ate those insignificant humans, and if they're pretty girls, just grape them? The imbecile asked shamelessly. Is this guy stupid or what? Even Razor wasn't this stupid when I first met him, Issei thought. His idiocy level exceeds 9,000 units, said Drake with a stupidity meter that he pulled out of nowhere. Draco. I don't even know and I'm the one writing this crap. You said it, buddy, you said it, Issei said, paying attention to what Shizuka would say about that. You're Kamiya Saizuo, right? Shizuka asked with a slight grimace that went unnoticed by most, except for Issei and Ingvild. They didn't like what she said. That's not the best option, since this academy teaches you how to live with humans. Besides, it's impossible for a human to be here because both students and teachers are yokai, she said, except for Issei and Ingvild, who are a dragon and a demon. She thought, because this academy is a sacred world and any human who knew of our existence would be killed or something. What? How drastic, at most I'd erase his memory or something, that's being extreme, Issei thought with a drop of sweat. I think the yokai are going way overboard with that measure, Ingvild thought, just like her master boyfriend. Excuse me. A soft voice pulled both boys from their thoughts and they turned their gaze to the door of the hall. After the opening ceremony I got lost, I'm sorry I'm late, Akashi Mocha apologized, entering the hall somewhat hurriedly. Oh, okay, take a seat, Shizuka said, thinking, how pretty she is, Naya, as Mocha entered the room. When she entered, there was a bucking commotion, mostly from the hormonal boys seeing the beautiful pink-haired vampire. Comments range from how beautiful she is, how pretty to she's hot, I'm happy to be in class with her, the boys said when they saw the pink-haired girl. The girl walked through the commotion looking for a place to sit until someone spoke to her. Mocha-chan, this way, Issei said, pointing to the empty seat behind him, but the girl didn't care much about that as she focused on Issei, and the first thing she did ignited Ingvild's jealousy. It's you, Ice. We're in the same classroom. She shouted happily as she hugged Issei. Haha, yes, I'm also glad to know that we'll be studying together, said Issei. Ingvild saw that and pouted. She had a lot to say to Rias. Issei felt a chill when he saw Ingvild make a cute pout. The room erupted in arguments among the boys about who Issei was and his relationship with Mocha. They were all very jealous. While that was happening, Saizu stared intently at Mocha's body. Time skip. Academy hallways. Issei, Ingvild and Mocha, who were clinging to Issei's arms, were walking through the academy's hallways under the jealous gaze of all the boys there. "Whoa, who are those girls?" said one. "How beautiful," exclaimed another. "But who the hell is that guy hanging around them?" another one asked, annoyed. Issei looked over his shoulder and his eyes changed to an emerald green that radiated fury that silenced them and made them look away. "HMPH, they were so annoying," said Issei. "Okay, Ai-san, calm down," said Ingvild, taking Issei's hand. "Wow, the academy looks great," Mocha said, impressed by how beautiful the academy was. "Yes, she looks prettier inside than outside," Issei said. The trio continued walking until they encountered a certain imbecile who blocked their path. How beautiful you are," said Saizu, appearing in their path. "You are Akashia Mocha and Ingvild Hyodou, and I am your partner. My name is Saizu Kamiya, pleased to meet you." Saizu introduced himself arrogantly to both girls, while Ingvild had a poker face and Mocha was tightly gripping Issei's hand in a sign of discomfort. Issei looked at him and sensed an insignificant level of power coming out of the guy. "This idiot is weak," Issei thought, looking at the idiot. "Tell me, what are two beautiful girls like you doing?" Saizu asked, grabbing Issei by the collar and lifting him into the air. "With a guy like this?" the future injured man asked arrogantly. "Oh no, Ai-san will hit him hard," Ingvild thought as she saw the idiot's suicidal action. "Oh no, that's Saizu Kamiya," said one of the male students fearfully. "I heard that in the human world he caused several problems by harassing girls," said one nervously. "This guy is already dead, they just haven't told him yet," Drake said, waiting to see what Issei would do. "Don't you prefer someone superior like me to this little piece of trash?" Saizu asked, not noticing Issei retracting his left arm. "Why don't we go somewhere, just the two of us?" and he didn't finish because Issei unleashed a tremendous punch that made him see stars. "Let go of me, idiot. Besides, they'd prefer someone other than a moron like you," Issei said angrily, straightening his shirt collar. "Sorry about that, girls. Come on, we have nothing to do with this," Issei said, and both girls nodded and left, leaving a semi-conscious Saizu in the hallway. Several boys were surprised to see Saizu defeated with a single punch. Come on, only beings of Issei's level could withstand a strong blow from him. Even Sekiryuutei could knock the idiot's head off with a slap. Unbeknownst to them, a female figure at the very top of the stairs saw what Issei did and smiled. That boy is very interesting," the mysterious girl said to herself, only to leave the place and head to an unknown location. But Issei and the girls had arrived at the entrance of the academy, stopping to talk. "Issei, that was amazing," Mocha said, smiling at Issei, who just scratched his head. "I'm just annoyed by what he said, but thanks anyway," Issei said. Leaving that aside, Ingvild said, "Why don't we go explore the academy?" she asked. "That sounds great to me," Mocha exclaimed, smiling. "Yes, after all, classes start in earnest tomorrow," Issei said. "Alright, let's go then, Mocha-san, Ai-san," said Ingvild, taking the chestnut-haired boy's hand, and Mocha did the same. Time skip. The trio spent the rest of the day walking around the academy, getting to know each other. They had a pleasant time together, though they were unaware that a black cat was watching them from afar, or rather, watching Issei. But whenever Issei tried to see who was watching him, the cat would disappear. All that until they reached the dormitories, which, from Issei and Ingvild's point of view, seemed more abandoned than Drag inside the boosted gear, XD. "Wow, how unpicturesque," Ingvild said, tilting her head to one side. "I think so," Issei said. "Whoa, how cool, a building full of dignity and character," said Mocha, fascinated, looking with stars in her eyes at what looked like the home of some creepypasta. "Yes, character," said Issei, not quite sure he was going to say this was straight out of an 80s horror movie. "They don't like Ingvild-chan, Ice, although that's obvious since they're monsters," Mocha said, then asked curiously, "Speaking of which, what kind of monsters are you?" "We would tell you, but," Ingvild said. "That goes against the rules," Issei finished playfully, making her pout. "It's not fair, but oh well, we didn't know the rules," Mocha said in defeat. "Speaking of which, Mocha-san," Ingvild said, and Mocha looked at her. "She's different from any vampire I know." "Why is that?" Ingvild asked, remembering what Elmhild had told her about vampires. "Well, you see, I look more human now, but it's because of this," Mocha said, pointing to her necklace which had a rosary with a red gem in the middle of the cross. If I take off this rosary I'm wearing, my true nature comes out, turning me into an evil and terrifying vampire, Mocha said, gently taking the rosary in her hands. Issei and Ingvild thought he was exaggerating, although Issei remembered when Gasper unleashed his full power, that was truly gangster-like. Rosaries have the effect of sealing a vampire's powers, Mocha explained. Since in my original form I was hated and caused a lot of conflict, I put on this rosary so I could keep my powers sealed, Mocha said. Although according to Elmahild only a few vampires need that seal, even Gasper would have needed it before, I think it had something to do with blood or something like that, Issei thought. Yes, vampires have always been abnormal. Just look at the case of Vlad Tepes. This man, known as Dracula, was a very powerful vampire, but of course he had weaknesses that current generations of vampires don't have. There are abnormalities like the case of your damper friend, although few currently seal their powers because they are so great, Drake told Issei. That would explain something, Issei thought. Even if our powers are sealed, we can still suck blood, Mocha said, looking at Issei. Speaking of which, can I have a little of your blood, Ice? Mocha asked, a little embarrassed. Okay, Issei said. Thank you. Mocha exclaimed happily before proceeding to suck Issei's blood. Hyodou. It sounded like Mocha sucking blood from Issei's neck. And Ingvild watched that with jealousy, even though it was blood, she was still very close to her Ai-san. Time skip. Boys' dormitory. -7 p.m. Issei's room. They had already eaten dinner and Issei was already showered, sitting on his bed. He was wearing red exercise pants with white stripes and no shirt, showing his slim body with thin muscles and some scars. He had a towel around his neck while drinking a Red Bull. His room wasn't anything special. His bed, a closet he enlarged thanks to magic seals Rossweisse gave him, a state-of-the-art laptop 100% modified by Azazel for better performance, a Dragon Ball Super poster, and a picture of Rias and the girl smiling next to him, they were all there since it was from days after the Trihexa incident. Ingvild was probably talking to Rias right now, so he'd better get ready for when she came because she might scold him. A lot has happened in a short time, Issei said. You can say that again, the best thing that ever happened to you was meeting that vampire girl, haha, you sure have luck with girls, Drake said. Hey, it was just a coincidence that we ran into Mocha-chan, anyone could have bumped into her like that, said Issei. Well in Tokyo a chestnut-haired boy sneezed thinking someone was talking about him. Yes, Drake said, sounding unconvinced. What does it matter, I'd better sleep, tomorrow will be another day, said Issei, lying down on his bed to sleep alone for the first time, or so he thought. Good night, girls, Issei thought before falling asleep. Issei fell asleep, while in the distance, a female shadow watched him. The distinctive feature of this figure was her golden feline eyes looking in the direction of the sleeping Issei. Not bad, I think this will be fun after all, thought the mysterious woman as she left the place and went to her room to sleep. Tomorrow will be another day. The next morning. -6:30 a.m. Issei was waking up from his sleep when he felt something, or rather someone, sleeping on his chest. Looking closer, he noticed a head of purple hair and realized who it was. Seriously, spending time with Rias rubbed off on her, he said amusedly, missing his girls, unaware that Rias and the others hadn't slept very well. Princess, wake up, it's already daytime, Issei said, gently stroking Ingvild's soft purple hair. Just a few more minutes, please, she said in a soft, sleepy voice. Okay, Issei said as he hugged Ingvild and realized that there was still a long way to go before class. It wasn't like he was really going to study, maybe Ingvild would, but not him. Time skip. -45 minutes later. Issei had already left his room ready to start the day. Ingvild would stay and wait for Mocha so they could leave together, so he went ahead. Everything was going well, everything was fine until. Out of nowhere, a wild Saizu appears. Hey, wait a minute, boyfriend, Saizuo said while leaning against one of the trees in the area. Is this guy an idiot, or what? Issei wondered to himself. Come on, at least try to look intimidating, Drake said. Well, he's on the wrong track, Issei said, looking at the idiot as if he were a freak. What do you want? Say it quickly, I'm late for class, Issei said with a bored look, irritating Saizu. Yesterday you acted very friendly with Akashi Mocha and Ingvild Hyodou, and even if she's your cousin or whatever Saizu said, grabbing Issei by the collar and slamming him against a tree, it's best if you stay away from them or else he said, trying to threaten Issei, who still looked at him, Saizu, like an idiot. Or else, what will you do about it? As far as I know, one is free to be friends with whomever one wants, and an imbecile like you won't tell me what to do or not to do, said Issei, taking Saizu's hand away and straightening his shirt. Your true form, Saizu growled in annoyance. Huh? Issei blurted out, confused. What is your true form, tell me? The idiot demanded angrily. Issei looked at him seriously, and if you looked closely, his eyes were changing to an emerald green. Saizu noticed this, and his instincts told him to flee as fast as he could. Issei grabbed him by the neck and threw him against a nearby wall, burying his head in it. Ooh, you don't even want to know my true nature, idiot, better not mess with me and stay there for the rest of the day, Issei said under the astonished gaze of everyone. Issei saw them but let them be. Ah, I better get out of here, Issei said as he walked to class. Saizu was paralyzed, not from pain, but because he felt, even if only for a second, true terror. What the hell was that feeling? I saw something dangerous in her eyes, he thought, scared, but he put that aside. He was still sure he would get Ingvild and Mocha for himself. He walked peacefully for a few minutes when a familiar voice caught his attention. I see. Mocha launched herself into a hug with Issei. Behind her came Ingvild, who also hugged Issei, much to the jealousy of all the boys. Good morning, Mocha-chan, Issei greeted the vampire while taking Ingvild's hand. How did you sleep? He asked. Well, thanks for asking, Mocha replied, still clinging to Issei's arm. And you seem a little annoyed. Mocha asked, noticing Issei's frown. It wasn't anything important, it's just that something happened that reminds me that human schools and the Yokai Academy aren't very different, Issei replied to Mocha. But you know what, I hate humans, although you're right there are several things that are the same, said Mocha. You hate humans, why? Ingvild asked, and Issei nodded, wanting to know. Well, at the human school I attended, they isolated me and told me I was weird and that it would be better if I disappeared. That's why I hate humans, Mocha said sadly, remembering her school life. But that doesn't mean all humans are the same, Issei said, and Mocha looked at him, intrigued. I've met vampires before, and not all of them were as nice as you. You're one of the few vampires I consider friends, since most of them had a meter-long stick up their asses and were very, very irritating. But that doesn't mean I hate all vampires. Despite their airs of superiority and belief that they're better than humans, there are some who are very nice, Issei said, thinking of Valerie, Gasper, and his beloved Elmhild. So, because of the mistakes of a few, you shouldn't hate an entire race. Just as humans have flaws, so do monsters, Issei said, inspired, as if he were Sarutobi or some politician. I never saw it that way, and now I feel stupid for hating all humans, Mocha said, embarrassed, as she felt Issei stroke her head, making her blush slightly. Don't worry, we all make mistakes sometimes, said Issei. We'd better go, we're going to be late, Issei said as the trio headed to the classroom. Time skip. After class. Issei was putting his things away, although in his backpack there was nothing but a notebook that he used to draw. Yes, he drew in class, he only answered some questions that Shizuka asked him to disguise it. The day he had met some of the teachers at the school. First, Ruriko Kagam, the math teacher, was a beautiful woman though Rossweisse was even more so, but that didn't diminish the sensual air she exuded. Drake told him she was a lamia, so he should be careful. Next, a blonde woman with golden eyes, who turned out to be his history teacher, was Shinobu Ashino. Strangely, she reminded him of someone he knew as a child, but perhaps he was mistaken. According to Drake, she was a vampire and one of the ancient ones. Finally, the most dangerous, according to Drake, was Morrigan Eansland, an SSS rank succubus, former ruler of the demon world, who was now a science teacher. This woman kept a close eye on him, and it gave him chills. Drake told him that this woman had fought several of the ancient Sekiryuutei, even Belserd, but he lost. Although he didn't know why, it seemed to have something to do with a succubus's destined mate, whatever that meant. Ruriko Kagam Lamia. Shinobu Ashino S rank vampire history teacher. Morrigan Eansland succubus rank S science teacher. Imagine Shinobu and Morrigan in a teacher's uniform. After that, and after Ruriko had sent him to the blackboard to solve problems, although it was easy for him, thanks to Tsubaki Hehe, he was now ready to go for a walk with the girls. Issei looked behind him and saw a blue-haired girl looking at him, then she left the room. Strange, he thought as he watched her leave and looked at the seat where Mocha was supposed to be and saw that she wasn't there. Huh? Ingvild, where did Mocha-chan go? Issei asked his queen girlfriend, who shook her head at the question. Wait, said the Leviathan. I think she said she'd go to the dorms first and then come back, Ingvild said, and Issei nodded. Okay, let's go find her, said Issei. Ingvild nodded and they both left the classroom. A few minutes later they were walking towards the dormitories to look for Mocha when. A female scream was heard inside the gloomy forest. Damn it, Mocha-chan. Exclaimed Issei. Come on, Ingvild, Issei said to his girlfriend, who nodded. Flashback. With Mocha. On the way to the dormitories. Mocha was walking calmly with a lovely smile. Today she would spend the afternoon with her first friends. She was happy and decided to go put her things in her room. She was so engrossed in her own things that she didn't notice the shadow that was following her. I'm so happy, Mocha said cheerfully. Today I'll be spending time with Ice and Ingvild-chan. I need to hurry and put my things in my room, Mocha said when a voice stopped her. Oh, what's a pretty girl like you doing all alone? Said an unpleasant voice, and when Mocha turned around she found Saizu with his long tongue sticking out. Why don't you come with a man like me? He said, grabbing Mocha by force and dragging her into the forest. Ah, was the scream she gave when the imbecile kidnapped her into the forest. Present tense. Forest. Issei and Ingvild ran in search of Mocha. A few minutes passed before they saw where she was and who she was with. I knew I should leave you paralyzed, you damn imbecile, Issei said, glaring angrily at the transformed blonde imbecile. What was Saizu? Well, he was a bucking orc and he was ugly, the bastard. Ahahaha, oh if it isn't the idiot I warned not to go near Mocha and Ingvild, but I forgive you since you brought Ingvild to me, said Saizu phase 2xt. You'd better let Mocha go if you don't want to end up in a coma, you idiot, Issei said seriously. And why should I listen to you? I have the power and strength to do whatever I want, neither you nor anyone else. He didn't finish, because Issei took advantage and quickly punched him in the jaw, forcing him to let go of Mocha and sending him sprawling to the ground. Mocha-chan, are you okay? Issei asked, extending his hand for Mocha to take. But she accepted and then cleaned her skirt. Yes, thank you Ice. Mocha smiled gratefully and Issei did the same only to receive a pinch from Ingvild. But Saizu stood up furiously and glared at Issei with bloodshot eyes. Damn you, Hyodou, I'll kill you and make those 2 bitches mine. The seriously injured man shouted furiously. Upon hearing that, Issei became very angry. He hated when a man said that about a woman for no reason. Now he would paralyze the imbecile. Now, you asshole, I'm going to kick your ass so hard you'll be face down, and where your ass was, you'll have a bucking crater the size of my shoe, Issei said, quickly appearing in front of Saizu, preparing a powerful blow. Better clench your ass, Issei said, delivering a punch to Saizu's stomach, forcing him to his knees and spitting out saliva mixed with blood. And now he didn't finish because the coward shoved him hard and the stupid brunette couldn't avoid it. Damn, I got cocky, Issei thought, not realizing where he was about to end up. Issei crashed into Mocha, both of them spinning on the ground, ending up in a compromising position that made Ingvild jealous. Now I'll kill you. Saizu was interrupted again in his stupid poorly written monologue by an annoyed Ingvild who threw a strong jet of water at him. Shut up already, Ingvild said angrily. Ai-san, stop doing that in the middle of a fight or I'll tell Rias-san, Ingvild said, threatening Issei with the last part, making Issei pale at the thought of his Redeed being angry with him and that meant 0 kisses and caresses for him. Okay, I'm getting up, Issei said, not paying much attention to Mocha's blush as to the fact that he was taking the rosary from her. When he got up and helped Mocha up, he saw what she had in her hand and it was Mocha's rosary. Huh. Was all he could say when he saw the crucifix in her hand. The seal has been broken, Mocha said in shock, then began to change. Oh, now it'll change, it would be interesting to know what will happen, Issei said with an idiotic face, watching Mocha transform. Watch from the beginning to 034, this is the best I could find. Wow, if she was beautiful with pink hair, now with silver hair, she's devilishly hexy, Issei thought, seeing inner Mocha in all her splendor. Besides, she has power, although I say Gasper is more dangerous than her, Issei thought, now feeling Mocha's power. Meanwhile, the newly recovered Saizu was stunned to see Mocha's new appearance. What the hell is that? This overwhelming feeling of power that someone else that's not Akashia Mocha. He exclaimed, terrified by Mocha's power. Saizu spoke up, she's just like the legends say. Red eyes, silver hair, an enormous supernatural presence, an S-rank monster, a vampire, Saizu said, looking fearfully at Mocha. Something's wrong, you rascal. You love me, don't you? Why don't you force me? Inner Mocha said, tempting the idiot. Come on, don't you want to? She provoked. Just as Saizu was about to rush to his premature end, Issei interrupted. Okay, it's nice to know who you are and all, but I'm the one who's sending this idiot to intensive care, Issei said, standing in front of Mocha while looking at her seriously. I appreciate the blood and everything, but now I'll take care of everything myself, so step aside, Inner Mocha said arrogantly. Ah, you know, the pink-haired Mocha is nicer, you're a bit hateful, Issei said bluntly, reminding him of Elmhild when they first met. What Issei said shocked Saizu and Mocha, and Ingvild too, since according to Elmhild, Issei hates arrogant people, and although it wasn't like that with her when they first met, he started treating arrogant people badly and telling them to their faces to take the stick they had stuck up their asses. How dare you, she didn't finish, as she saw Issei's eyes change to reptilian green eyes and his body expel a great power that frightened her. Yes, it frightened her, well, any vampire would fear the Sekiryuutei. I mean, I don't know, what was that, his power isn't normal, thought Inner Mocha, looking at Issei in amazement, her fear had already passed. I'm sorry about that, but you're too beautiful to have that shitty attitude. It's ruining your beauty, Issei said, making Mocha blush slightly, though she calmed down instantly. We'll introduce ourselves later, but if you want, we can blast this idiot off like Team Rocket, Issei offered Mocha, who smiled and nodded. And you, Ingvild, do you want to hit him? Remember he was talking about you? Issei said. Yes, because I'm bothered by how I look at myself, only you can see me like that, the Leviathan said, blushing, making Issei blush as well. It doesn't matter if you're a vampire or not, I'll make you mine, Akashia Makaya. Saizu shouted, throwing himself into the slaughter. Alright, this idiot is ready, Issei said, appearing in front of Saizu at superhuman speed. Training with Kiba and Akita to improve my speed was a good idea. Now to put what I learned from Sekiryuutei into practice, Issei thought, pulling his left arm back, which began to heat up until it turned red. Take this, you imbecile Dragon Galactica Phantom. Issei exclaimed, delivering a punch to Saizu in the style of Ralph Jones from KOF, a reference to the Galactic Phantom, sending the imbecile flying into a small torrent of water where Ingvild awaited him, she learned from Sona and Serafal. Sekiryuutei! Exclaimed the Leviathan, launching a water dragon at the imbecile who was sent flying to be received by Mocha. You wanted me, but you don't have the strength to have me. You're weak, and guys like you should know, Mocha said, raising her legs so high that her panties were visible. Why, Issei thought, looking at Mocha's panties, when Ingvild winked at him. Ai-san is such a pervert, I'll tell Rias-san, the girl pouted as Issei arrived on the floor, holding his eyes in pain. Your place. Exclaimed Mocha, delivering a tremendous kick to the face as if Chun-Li and Sanji had done it, which sent Saizu flying, who was slammed against a tree, Saizu detransformed and with spirals in his eyes. A low-class monster like you, who can't show anything for his stature, doesn't even come close to a decent opponent in a contest of strength, pathetic, Mocha said, looking at the knocked-out poke. I mean, Saizu, if that's what it is. She left the idiot to look at Issei and Ingvild, but mostly at Issei. You have a good kick, you made him look uglier than he already is, Issei said humorously, looking at the deformed-faced idiot, while Mocha slowly approached. We haven't introduced ourselves, I'm Hyo. He didn't finish because Mocha interrupted him. I know, Hyodou, Issei, although I should say I don't care much, now I'm interested in you, Mocha said, getting very close to Issei. And very much so. Tell me, Hyodou, Issei, what are you really? Inner, Mocha asked, close to Issei's face. You could say it's a secret, Issei said, much to Mocha's annoyance. But since I like you and you ask nicely, I'll tell you, Mocha-chan. I'm a dragon, and that's all you need to know. Just like Ingvild isn't family to me, she's something more than that, Issei said, further intriguing Mocha. Besides, as I already told the other Mocha, you can tell me what to call me, Ice, Mocha-chan, Issei said, smiling. Mocha smiled. A dragon would make everything more interesting for her, and she might even fall in love with him, who knows. Okay, that's fine by me, take care of the other Mocha for me, okay, Ise-kun, Inner Mocha finished saying as she snatched the rosary from Issei's hand and put it on herself, switching the outer Mocha, who fell unconscious to the ground, being caught by Issei, so that she wouldn't get hurt. Wow, that's new, Issei said, smiling as he looked at the pink-haired Mocha in his hands. Alright, Ingvild, let's rest. Today was a very busy day, Issei said, lifting Mocha up like a princess. Ingvild approached Issei, pouting. Ah, I think you and Rias are the most jealous. Come here, Issei said, giving Ingvild a kiss on the lips. Smiling, she calmed down and walked smiling alongside Issei. They left quietly, unaware that they were being watched from afar by certain people. Ifufu, the Sekiryuutei of this era is very promising, perhaps he is the one who can be worthy of being with me, said a green-haired girl with red eyes, who left the place. On another point. Ice-kun has gotten strong, I hope he still remembers me, said a blonde girl, looking at a necklace she was wearing with a golden heart pendant. She opened it to reveal a picture of a blonde girl and a brown-haired boy, both smiling while eating donuts. I hope you remember me, Ice-kun, she said, then left. At another, more distant point. It's strong, I'm starting to reconsider accepting it, but it's better to get to know it better, said the woman with dark purple hair and golden eyes, as she left the place. Meanwhile, in the academy's gym, a woman with light blue hair and a tracksuit the same color as her hair was training, because tomorrow she will be teaching classes for 1 to 3. She had felt the power of the Sekiryuutei for a moment and smiled. Fufu, maybe if she meets my requirements, she can be my future partner, after all, there is only one left who meets them, said the woman with pale skin and a mark on her chest to continue with what she was doing. Issei had made a friend today, future partner XD, he had punched someone more arrogant than his friend Razor. When he first met him, he saw the other side of his friend, and he is in the sights of several women. This boy will have huge problems related to the opposite hex that would benefit him in the long run, but it would cost. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Time skip. -1 week later. Yaokai Academy. Dormitories. -6:50 a.m. In a certain chestnut-haired man's room, he was resting next to his queen girlfriend, who was snuggled up to him. Issei slowly woke up, seeing Ingvild sleeping peacefully. "She looks beautiful when she sleeps," Issei said, gently stroking her hair as she snuggled closer, seeking the warmth of his body. "I still can't believe the shit that happened the day after that idiot Kamiya," Issei thought listlessly, still stroking Ingvild's hair. What happened to make Issei think this way? Well, let's go back to the day after Saizu was suspended to physical education class. Flashback. One day after the incident. Gymnasium. It was physical education class for class 1 to 3. Most of the male students, except for Issei, were excited. Why? Well, apparently, according to what Issei overheard, a beautiful woman was teaching the class. Many said she was dangerously beautiful, but Issei didn't let it get to him. They were just rumors, though he didn't deny that any woman in the supernatural world was extremely beautiful. "I hope the class starts soon, I want to meet the beautiful teacher they say teaches it," said one of the boys excitedly. "They say she's very beautiful and has a great body," said another boy. And the bitches kept going and going. "Let's move on to the trio of the moment." "Ah, what idiots," said Issei, watching a group of his classmates talking about the teacher. "But I'm a little curious since I don't know her yet and I'd like to know what she's like," Mocha said, looking at Issei. "Mocha-san is right, it would be interesting to know who will be teaching the class," said Ingvild. "Well, I'm also a little curious about the teacher, but until I come and see her, I won't let myself be swayed by rumors," Issei said to Mocha and Ingvild. Then the teacher came in and feet. "Ooh!" exclaimed all the boys upon seeing the beauty who would be their teacher. She was a tall, beautiful and slender woman, with light blue hair and eyebrows and blue eyes. She wore a sportsuit like Rossweisse's, but in the same color as her hair. She had pale and delicate skin, large breasts, and a distinctive black mark between them. Imagine her wearing the clothes Rossweisse wore in Hero, but in light blue. "Alright, let me introduce myself. My name is Esdith Partas, and I'm your physical education teacher," she said seriously, looking at each student in the room. Her gaze lingered briefly on Issei, who met her eyes. She smiled slightly and continued, her expression serious, explaining, "Everyone must participate in the activities I'll be teaching, and I expect complete obedience in my class. So, I want you to run 20 laps around the gym now," she said sternly, and everyone quickly complied so as not to anger her. They started circling and Esdith kept looking at Issei, who was running alongside his queen and Mocha. Then they did the usual things. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and so on, until a dodgeball competition started. Of the women, only Ingvild remained standing, and of the men, well. Issei easily dodged the ball since they were so slow to his eyes that when he caught one he would knock some poor guy out, all until he was left standing, and then something happened that completely charmed Esdith. "Yes," Issei smiled happily. "When I looked at this image, I couldn't help but think, when the crazy girl falls in love with you. JPG, seriously, even though she's crazy I would love her, of course if she were flexible with her thoughts, if not I would run away from her like a bucking madman. He's the one, she thought, clutching her chest and feeling her heart pounding. After class, Issei was the last to leave. Ingvild and Mocha decided to leave earlier since they both had things to do. Issei thought they were very good friends, and that was good. Issei was putting his things in his sports bag when Esdith approached him. "Issei Hyodou, right?" she asked calmly, trying not to throw herself at him and kiss him. "Huh? It's me, Parta-sensei," Issei said, smiling slightly and blushing at poor Esdith. "I want to talk to you about something," she said, sounding a little nervous, which was unusual for Issei. "Okay, teacher," he was about to say, but Esdith stopped him. "Call me Esdith when we're alone, after all you're not a normal student, are you?" she said, smiling. "Only if you call me Issei or Ice," Issei said. "Okay, Ice-kun," she said. They both sat down on the bleachers there so they could talk. "So, what did you want to talk to me about?" Issei asked, looking at her, and Esdith blushed, much to Issei's surprise. "Well, you should already know that I'm a Yuki-onna, but very different from others of our kind," Esdith said, and Issei nodded. "That's because our clan is particularly strong among the Yuki-onna clans. Since leaving the clan, I've been looking for a man to spend the rest of my life with. In our clan, we're only interested in strong men, and when I heard about you, I became interested. At first, I thought Sekiryuutei would be a good option, but when I learned that all that boy cared about was fighting, well I gave up on that idea. But when I learned of your achievements throughout your work in the supernatural realm, a great interest in you overwhelmed me. When I found out you'd be here studying by Yasaka-sama's orders, I was thrilled. I had a lot of criteria and a few points for my future partner. That he be strong, younger than me, and especially have a smile that would make my cold heart beat faster. I imagine you already know where I'm going with this, right?" Esdith asked, blushing, looking at an equally blushing Issei who didn't know what to think. You and your luck with women, you don't know how many people hate you for that, hehe, Drake said, amused by his friend's luck. So, Ice-kun, what do you think about that? She asked. She didn't mind sharing. After all, she knew he was engaged to Rias, Gremory and several other girls, and that didn't bother her at all. Well, this is unexpected. I'm not saying I don't like it, I mean you're beautiful, who wouldn't want to go out with you, but I'd like to get to know you better, so I'm not rushing into this decision, Issei said, looking at Esdeath, who smiled and happily hugged him. Yes. Of course I accept to get to know you better, Ice-kun, I swear you won't regret it. Esdeath said cheerfully and did something that took Issei by surprise and shocked Ingvild, who had come to look for Issei. HMPC, Esdeath Bizo Issei. Issei Ian. Shouted an annoyed Ingvild. I'm screwed, Issei thought, but he returned the kiss Esdeath gave him. But I don't regret anything, the brunette thought. After that he was scolded by Ingvild, who then spoke with Esdeath, and in the end, Ingvild agreed that Issei could go out with Esdeath. They spent the rest of the week like that and the fact that Master Shinobu always looked at Issei with longing eyes and Issei looked at her, as if wanting to remember someone from his past when he saw her, dates with Esdeath, getting to know each other better and well, spending time with Shizuka and Mocha, of course, Ingvild was the one who gained the most since she slept with Issei. Then flashback. Currently. Issei smiled and decided to disturb his beloved's sleep. Ingvild, you must wake up, love. You have to go to your room so as not to raise suspicions, Issei whispered in her ear. 5 more minutes, Isan, she complained, clinging closer to Issei, who smiled. Ah, okay, said Issei, hugging her affectionately. Thank you, Isan, that's why I love you, she said, still with her eyes closed. Time skip. On the way to the academy. -7:40 am. Issei and Ingvild were changing well together, much to the jealousy of the boys and girls, but the couple didn't care at all. As they walked amidst the murmurs of the students, they came across a certain vampire girl. Mocha-chan, good morning. Issei greeted. Good day, Mocha-san, Ingvild greeted her friend. Ingvild-chan, I see. Mocha exclaimed happily, quickly hugging them both. Good morning, guys, how are you this morning? Mocha asked happily while hugging Issei's arm. Well then, they both said, looking happily into each other's eyes, wondering why Mocha was surprised. And you, Mocha-chan, how did you sleep? Issei asked his friend, future girlfriend XD. I'm doing well, and I'm even better now that I'm with my best friends. Mocha said happily, and that smile was contagious to the couple. As they walked under the jealous gaze of several local boys, a female figure watched them from afar, more precisely Mocha and Ingvild, with clear annoyance in her eyes. DCH, I have to find a way to get them out of my way and get closer to Hyodou, Issei, the girl whispered to herself, before leaving the place. After the mysterious figure left, although you already know who it is, let's stop messing around, Issei allowed Mocha to suck some of his blood. He was grateful to have good regeneration, thanks to being a dragon. Time skip. Free. Time near the forest. Issei was walking alone since he had gone to get his cell phone, which he had left charging in his room. They had a free period since the English teacher was sick. Of course, that didn't stop Shinobu and Morrigan from giving him strange looks when he was in class, one nostalgic and the other predatory. He had to watch out for Morrigan anyway, he was returning when a sound caught his attention. Issei looked for the source of the sound. Oh, was the pitiful moan that sounded near his position. Hey, is anyone there? Issei asked stupidly, as he passed some bushes and came across a young woman with blue hair, large breasts, and purple eyes. She wasn't wearing the regulation uniform, but rather a yellow sleeveless vest that accentuated her figure, over a white shirt with a red bow, a regular skirt, and loose socks. The girl seemed sick or something, so Issei decided to see what was wrong. Please help me, lend me a hand, I suddenly started feeling unwell, said the girl with pain to Issei, who quickly decided to help. Hey, can you get up? Come on, I'll take you to the infirmary, said Issei, helping the girl, who smiled in gratitude. Then Issei helped the girl up and they headed towards the school infirmary. On the way the girl decided to talk. Thank you for helping me, I've always had a very weak body, the girl said to Issei, who looked at her. Ah, my breasts, they've started to hurt, she complained, missing Issei. Please bear with me for a moment, she asked, and Issei stopped when she pressed her breasts against his chest. I feel like my breasts are about to explode, she said, squeezing her large breasts against Issei. Whoa, they're as big as Akeno-san's, for someone 2 years younger than me is a lot, Issei thought, feeling the girl's breasts tighten, but without any reaction, which surprised and annoyed the girl a little. Look at me, please, Issei-kun, the girl asked, and Issei looked into her eyes. I'm Kurumu Kurono, I hope we can be friends, Kurumu said, trying to use her charm on Issei, but it didn't work. But how come it didn't work? She thought, surprised. Ah, that explains why you seemed familiar. You sit behind the seat where Kamoya was. So, Kurumu, huh? Well, nice to meet you, and I'd like to be your friend, Kurumu-chan, Issei said, smiling at her in the way Rias liked, making Kurumu blush slightly. But come on, I'll leave you in the infirmary. We'll have more time to talk later, Issei said gently, leading a stunned Kurumu to the infirmary. Hyodou Issei, who are you? Kurumu thought, intrigued. Here I'll make a brief aside. There are some young yaokai who don't know who Issei is, it's kind of like those who don't know about a famous band or actor, so some don't know about the Sekiryuutei or his identity as Hyodou Issei. Poor succubus, she thinks that will affect my friend, well, better luck next time, I'd better go to sleep, Drake said without Issei hearing him. Time skip. Room 1 to 3. After leaving Kurumu in the infirmary, Issei happily returned home after meeting a cute girl. When he arrived, he went into class just as Nekonom was arriving to teach her class. Shizuka smiled at him and they both went inside. After that, Issei stayed behind because he had to talk to Shizuka, and Mocha and Ingvild decided to go outside and wait for Issei, not knowing what would happen when they left. With Mocha and Ingvild. In the hallways. They were both walking along nicely when someone caught their attention. You, Ingvild Hyodou and Mocha Acacia. A girl's voice called out. Hey, who's calling us? Mocha asked, searching for the source of the voice. Look, Mocha-san, up there, Ingvild said, pointing to the stairs. Sitting on the railing looking down, was Kurumu who jumped, revealing her white panties to the boys there who went crazy. Who are you? Mocha asked, looking at Kurumu. I'm Kurumu Kurono, and you two are interfering a lot with my plans, Kurumu said, pointing at them while looking at them with annoyance and expressing surprise at the duo. Hey, your plans, what plans? Ingvild asked, thinking that this girl was a little off. She barely knew her even though she had seen her before in class. Kurumu approached them both and spoke only to them. I'm a succubus, she told them both, and Mocha reacted quickly. Hey, you shouldn't say your species, it's against the rules, Mocha scolded Kurumu, who ignored her. I don't care about that, you two are interfering with my grand plan, Kurumu said. You talk about a plan, but you don't even say what it's about, Ingvild said, annoyed. Well, it's easy, little princess, Kurumu said, further annoying Ingvild. My grand plan is to turn every man in the Yokai Academy into my slaves, that is, to turn the Yokai Academy into my personal harem. She then proceeded to do the following. The personal harem? Mocha thought with a drop of sweat, watching the scene with second-hand embarrassment. This girl is like an old-fashioned Ai-san, but female, Ingvild thought, just like Mocha. My plan was perfect, I'd have all the boys in school at my feet, thanks to my beauty however, you two showed up. Kurumu said, then angrily approached them both. All the boys in this academy only dream about you two, and that bothers me. The blue-haired girl said irritably. Is she stupid or what? Ingvild thought, looking at Kurumu. I won't let you continue with this. I would never lose a battle of feminine charm against you, and I'll prove it by stealing something you have in common, Kurumu said, smiling. I'll steal Hyodou Issei's attention. Kurumu declared. It's wait, ice has nothing to do with this, Mocha said, sounding both annoyed and worried, looking at Kurumu. Ah, I have a feeling something's wrong with this girl, Ingvild thought, watching Mocha and Kurumu fight. Then the walking trouble arrived. If Hyodou Issei made an appearance and came happy, I'll just say that Shizuka kissed Issei, nothing more. He went down the stairs and looked at the crowd of boys and some girls surrounding Mocha, Ingvild and Kurumu. Hey, what's going on here? Issei asked, now close to them. When Mocha was about to speak, Kurumu was faster and clung to Issei while smiling. Ice-coon, Kurumu said, hugging a bewildered Issei and pressing her voluptuous figure against him. Thank you for earlier, she added, still hugging Issei. This annoyed Mocha and Ingvild, though not the latter as much since she had someone to talk to about it. Huh? No problem, Kurumu-chan, Issei said, looking at Kurumu. But are you okay? Issei asked a slightly blushing Kurumu. It's now or never, she said, but I'll be fine. She looked at Issei and began her plan. Charm, she thought, her mind control technique colliding with a barrier set up by Drake, who was mocking Kurumu's clumsy attempts. Kurumu, from continuing to try, got a migraine. Oh, she complained, holding her head. What the heck is going on? Why can't I control it? Kurumu thought, seeing Issei looking at her with concern. Hey, are you okay? Issei asked, seeing her holding her head. Ai-san, I think you should take her to the infirmary, Ingvild said, looking at Kurumu. We'll be outside while you're gone. Come on, Mocha-san, let's let Ai-san take Kurono-san to the infirmary, Ingvild said, wondering what the blue-haired girl would do next. I hope I don't regret this later, she thought, taking the hand of a protesting Mocha. But Ingvild-chan, she wanted to protest but was dragged by Ingvild out of the academy. He'll be fine, he's strong, so let him help Kurono-san, Ingvild said. Ooh, okay, see you later, Mocha said with an adorable pout, waving goodbye to Issei who waved them off. Yes, see you later girls, Issei said, then looked at Kurumu and took her in a bridal embrace. Alright, let's go to the infirmary, he said, ignoring the jealous protests of the boys there. But what's wrong? Why isn't my charm working on him? Could it be although being like this doesn't bother me, it's very warm, Kurumu thought with a cute blush, letting herself be carried away by Issei. Later. Infirmary. Issei was sitting in a chair near Kurumu who was lying on one of the beds in the place. Issei looked at her and was surprised to see her sitting in Caesar position while having a happy expression. Why is Kurumu-chan so cheerful? Issei thought, watching her make some childish gestures. Finally, we're alone. Even though my charm didn't work on him, I still have my secret weapon, Kurumu thought happily, then looked at Issei and smiled. Thank you for helping me, Ice-kun. If there's anything I can do for you, I'd be happy to, she said suggestively, which didn't work on Issei at all. Rias tempts him a lot and they always end up in steamy situations, so suggestive things won't do much good with Issei. You're welcome, Kurumu-chan, I'm happy to help, especially if it's someone as cute as you, Issei said, unconsciously making Kurumu blush. You're sweet, Ice-kun, Kurumu said, smiling and hugging Issei against her large breasts, surprising the brunette. You're soft no Issei, don't fall into temptation, think of the Bible, Issei thought, and he swore he heard Drake laughing at him. I like that you worry about me, Kurumu said, now with Issei lying on the stretcher with her on top of him. How it happened, I don't even know. But when did I lie down here? Issei thought in alarm, seeing Kurumu straddling him. Kurumu-chan? Issei asked, somewhat nervous about the closeness. Now I know this won't fail, I just need one kiss and he'll be all mine, Kurumu thought, bringing her face closer to Issei's. Hey, what are you trying to do? Issei asked, uneasy at their proximity. Okay, just one kiss and that's it, although I'm getting really nervous, Kurumu thought, blushing slightly as she did it. Wait, Issei said, pulling Kurumu into a hug, who was surprised by it. You shouldn't do these things with just anyone, you should do them with someone you love, Issei said, gently pulling her away and looking into her eyes, but Kurumu took this rejection very badly and misinterpreted everything. Because, she whispered, missing Issei. Huh? Issei asked. Why do you reject me so much? Do you hate me? Are they better than me, huh? Kurumu asked angrily. I did so many embarrassing things to attract you, and you come out with this. Kurumu asked angrily, beginning to transform. Everything I did for you, and you still reject me. Kurumu shouted angrily, abruptly moving away from Issei and transforming. Bat-like wings sprouted from Kurumu's back, her nails grew long and sharp, and a tail emerged from beneath her skirt. Now I'm really furious. She shouted, now transformed into a succubus. Holy shit, here we go again Oki no. Damn, she's really getting hot, Issei thought nervously. I'll destroy anything that has to do with them. Kurumu shouted angrily, but just as she was about to lunge at Issei, Mocha and Ingvild arrived. Ai-san. They both said, distracting Kurumu from her objective. They both saw Issei lying on the stretcher and Kurumu transformed on top of him, but Mocha acted quickly. Get away from him. I yelled, pushing Kurumu who went flying out the window. How was all the succubus said as she shot out, breaking the window. What happened here, Ai-san? Ingvild asked her boyfriend King. Well, I don't know, suddenly he hugged me and then laid me down here and wanted to kiss me. I just told him he should do that with someone he loves, but out of nowhere he got angry and wanted to attack me, Issei said. But thanks for coming, I didn't want to hurt her, Issei added. We came because you were late and we found this, we'd better go look for her, said Ingvild. Ingvild-chan is right, Ice, let's go outside, Mocha said. Okay, let's go, Issei said. And so the three of them left the academy in search of Kurumu. Outside the academy. Forest. The three arrived at the forest near the academy looking for Kurumu. Where could he be? Issei asked aloud. To throw me far away, the power of vampires is no small thing, said Kurumu, arriving where the trio was. Kurumu-chan, stop this, you didn't understand what I told you, Issei pleaded. Silence, it doesn't matter anymore, now that I have them here I will kill all three of them, she shouted angrily, launching herself at the trio who had stepped out of her path. Damn, he cuts those trees like butter, those nails are sharp, Issei thought, looking at some cleanly cut trees. Stop it, Kurono-san, don't force us to attack you, Ingvild pleaded, but was ignored as she had to dodge another attack from Kurumu. She's fast, she thought, somewhat impressed. Enough, Kurumu-san, stop attacking us senselessly, Mocha pleaded. Shut up and die already, Akashia Mocha. Kurumu shouted, increasing her speed and attacking a defenseless Mocha. Damn it, Mocha-chan. Issei yelled, launching himself at Mocha and knocking her out of the way, but receiving a large cut on his back. Damn, I let my guard down, Issei thought with some pain. When they fell, Kurumu seized the opportunity and launched himself at them. Now I've got them. Kurumu shouted, launching herself at Mocha and Issei. Damn it, Ai-san. Ingvild shouted, preparing a water attack, but a particular sound stopped her from doing so. That sound, it's going to happen again, she thought, looking at where Issei and Mocha were. Clink. It rang when Issei accidentally removed the rosary from Mocha's neck. It seems we meet again, Mocha, Issei said, watching as a light blinded everyone to reveal inner Mocha in all her splendor. I won't mention when he transforms because it's too much of a spoiler and some of you already know it and those who don't, well, look it up XD. Huh? Don't joke with me, there's no way I'm losing, Kurumu said seriously. We Succubi search for our destined mate among all the men we seduce so that our little species doesn't disappear. We carefully search for a single man from among so many to be our destined one, she explained, looking at inner Mocha who was staring at her emotionlessly. Wow, I didn't know that Succubi were on the verge of extinction, Issei thought sadly. Believe it or not, in the Great War not only did the three factions lose many, but different species also lost most of their own, including the Succubi and Incubus. Morrigan, who is your teacher, is the strongest and eliminated several demons, angels, and fallen angels to remove her own from the conflict, Drake said, astonishing Issei. And you, Akashi Mocha, along with Issei Hyodou, are in the middle of this, and I'm not going to let them keep ruining everything. When I'm done with you, she'll be next, and then Ice-kun, she said, throwing herself into the lion's den. Damn, he's going to hit her hard, Issei thought, worried about Kurumu. So what are you going to do? You can't let us continue with this, so you have the courage to raise your claws against those who are like us. Inner Mika asked, not caring much that Kurumu was about to hit her. Hiya, Kurumu shouted, launching a swipe that Inner Mocha evaded and grabbed her tail. My tail. She said alarmed. Slow, Inner Mocha said seriously, why don't I rip off that tail and those wings so you can't fly again, huh? Inner Mocha coldly asked Kurumu. No. She screamed in terror, realizing she might die. Crash. It was the sound of Inner Mocha slamming Kurumu to the ground, still holding her tail, and breaking the ground with Kurumu's back. Aye. Arg. Kurumu groaned pitifully, feeling the pain of the impact and spitting out a little saliva. Calm down, this attack was gentle, or am I too strong for you? You act like a little devil, but you're nothing more than a silly little girl. Inner Mocha said, slowly approaching and scaring Kurumu. No, go away, I don't want to die yet, please go away, Kurumu said fearfully, crawling back while sobbing. Please, I just want to find my destined one, she said between sobs. You know, I should do what I said before, so you don't try anything against me again, Inner Mocha said, approaching with an evil smile. I don't want to die here, Nuo, Kurumu thought, frightened. Mocha-san, that's enough, she's learned her lesson, Ingvild told her, but she was ignored. This is getting out of control, Issei thought, getting up from his seat and taking the rosary in his hand. Inner Mocha was still approaching the frightened Kurumu when Issei got in her way. Why are you stopping me? Wasn't that woman the one who tried to kill you a few moments ago? You'd better step aside or you'll get hurt too, Ice-kun, Inner Mocha said seriously, but she calmed down and felt a chill when she saw Issei's serious eyes change from honey to emerald green. That feeling again, telling me I'm in danger, she thought nervously for the first time in her life. That's enough, Mocha-chan. Kurumu-chan might have attacked me, but that doesn't matter now. It's no reason to try something awful like ripping off her wings and tails. You'd better stop, or I'll get angry with you, and I don't want that, Issei said seriously, and Inner Mocha obeyed. Besides, she did it for a good reason, and I don't see her as a bad girl. Kurumu-chan is cute and kind, just like you, even if you don't want to admit it, he said, smiling, making both Inner Mocha and Kurumu blush. It's better to leave her alone, okay? I know she won't do this again, Issei said, smiling and approaching Inner Mocha, who looked seriously at his face. What? He asked, only to be pulled into a kiss, though inexperienced, it was a strong kiss that he returned, embracing Inner Mocha by the waist, all under the gaze of a resigned Ingvild. Kurumu was in her own world and didn't notice. They both separated and Issei looked at Inner Mocha in amazement. Wow, what was that? Issei asked. HMPH, you have something that attracts me besides your blood, maybe because you're a dragoner, I don't know, but don't think I'll always be like this, Ice-kun. Besides, seeing you and Ingvild, I can tell you have more secrets than you're letting on. I'd better see you later, Ice-kun. Take care of my outer self. See you later. Inner Mocha said goodbye, taking the crucifix from Issei's hands and putting it back in its place, winking at Issei for the last time that day. She became Outer Mocha again, whom Issei caught in his arms before she fell to the ground. Today has been a crazy day, said Issei, taking Mocha in a bridal style. Ingvild approached and kissed him on the lips, which he reciprocated. Come on, Ai-san, besides, you have to worry about Rias-san, since she'll want explanations about Mocha-san, said Ingvild, who looked around for Kurumu but couldn't find her. And where's Kurumu-san? She asked, looking where the succubus was supposed to be. She wanted to take her to the infirmary at least. Maybe she thought Mocha would hit her harder and decided to escape. I mean, she was scared, it's normal for her to run away. I just hope she's okay, Issei said, and Ingvild stood beside him. Well, let's go, I'm bored, said Ingvild, grabbing Issei's uniform sleeve, who smiled. Yes, let's go, said the chestnut-haired man, and they both left the place. In the distance, among the trees. Perched on a tree branch, Morrigan smiled as she watched Issei think this way about the situation of his species. Yufufu, Ice-kun, you interest me more and more. I'd better find the right moment to talk to him. Yufufu, I think I found the right one, Morrigan said as she left the place without noticing that a few trees away, a certain cat, or rather, a female cat, was watching where Issei and his queen were walking. Issei Hyodou, we'll meet soon, Yurichi should join, though I'll do it anyway, thought Yurichi the cat, smiling as she disappeared quickly from there. Rooftop of the academy. On the rooftop, Shinobu Ashino, formerly known as Kiss Shot Acerola or Iron Heart Under Blade or just Kiss Shot, watched Issei and Ingvild walking near the academy. She looked at Issei with nostalgia and, glancing at the golden heart pendant on her necklace, opened it and saw a picture of herself in her child form next to a small Issei, both smiling. Don't ask me how a vampire took a picture, but since it's DXD and Rosario plus vampire, well, that doesn't matter. She gently touched the photo and sighed nostalgically. You'll still remember me, Icon, because I still remember you well, my love, she said, letting it tearful as she recalled Issei's sadness at seeing her leave Kuo. I hope that when we talk and he knows who I am, he'll forgive me, she said, then went back inside. She had homework to check. The next day. The Aokai Academy. -7:30 a.m. Issei, Ingvild, and Mocha walked peacefully to the academy while chatting. So you've been chatting with the other Mocha? Issei asked. Yes, since the seal was removed, I've been talking to her, and I think the seal is weakening, Mocha told her friends, who nodded. Guys, if the seal stops working altogether, will it still grow bigger? Mocha asked sadly. Of course, I don't see why not, I mean you're Mocha and Mocha will always be Mocha no matter who she is, Issei said, smiling and cheering Mocha up. That's right, Mocha-san, it doesn't matter if you change, besides, the other Mocha-san is nice too, said Ingvild, making Mocha even happier, who hugged them. Thank you so much, guys, I'm so glad to have you around, Mocha said happily. Then someone very familiar to the three of them arrived. Good morning. Kurumu greeted cheerfully, arriving with a basket in her hands. This surprised Mocha and, to a lesser extent, Issei and Ingvild. Oh, Kurumu-chan, how are you? Issei greeted with a smile. Hello Ice-kun, I feel much better now that I've found you, she said happily, placing the basket in front of Issei. I made some cookies, would you like to eat them with me, Ice-kun? She said, smiling sweetly. For me? And why or what? Issei asked, looking at her. Kurumu just smiled, blushing. So do you remember when I said I was looking for my destined one? She asked, and Issei quickly understood. Wait, don't tell me that he didn't finish because she nodded. Shit, Issei thought, feeling Ingvild's gaze on the back of his head. I've decided it's you, Ice-kun, she said, hugging Issei. You bravely protected me, and that made my heart leap. I'm totally in love with you, Ice-kun, she said, resting her head on the chestnut-haired boy's chest. Well, this was observed by an even more resigned Ingvild and a jealous Mocha who exchanged glances with Kurumu, sparks flying between them. Hey, let go of Ice already, you're making him uncomfortable, Mocha said jealously, trying to pull Kurumu away from Issei. HMPH, you're just jealous. Leave me alone with my Ice-kun and go away, said Kurumu, still hugging Issei. Rias-san will have a lot to talk about with you, Ice-san, Ingvild said, and Issei sighed. What a problem, Issei thought, watching Mocha and Kurumu fight. Haha, it's always the same with you, buddy, hahaha, I'll never get tired of this, Drake said, laughing at Issei's situation. You're not helping at all, Drake, Issei thought. Woo, leave Ice alone, said Mocha as she hugged Issei from behind and sucked on his neck. Apachu she sounded as she sucked Issei's blood. Boy, swoltalo. Daiho molesta Kurumu tratando de separa Mocha de Issei. Another day in my crazy life, Issei thought resignedly. And all of this was seen by many boys who were jealous of Issei and his situation of being surrounded by beautiful girls. Hyodou. Osaka Temple. Meanwhile, at the Osaka Temple, the aforementioned woman was sitting next to someone I don't expect to see anytime soon. So you want to see him to talk to him, Kuroka? Yusaka said seriously to the downcast Nekomata, who nodded. Yes, I want to talk to Ice Naya and apologize for leaving him out, she said sadly. HMPH, do you know how sad she was to find out you were talking so much with that guy your friend is dating? The older blonde asked seriously. Yes, that's why I want to talk to Ice Naya, to apologize for neglecting him. I didn't want to do it, but I got so caught up in my friends that I neglected the one I love, and I regret leaving him alone, Kuroka said sadly, tears threatening to spill from her beautiful face. Isaka saw this and sighed. The Nekomata was sorry. Ah, you can go, but wait until Rias-san goes, so you can talk to Ice-kun and apologize, Yasaka said to Kuroka, who nodded with a weak smile. Alright, Naya, I'll go talk to Rias about this, and thank you again for giving me this opportunity to talk to Ice Naya again. See you later, Yasaka-sama, Kuroka said, leaving the room and looking up at the sky. I hope you'll forgive me for neglecting you, Ice Naya. I'm sorry for doing that, but I promise that when I see you, I won't leave your side, even if it means studying at that academy, Kuroka said to herself. Ah, I hope Rias isn't angry, Kuroka said, disappearing in a magic circle. And so another day in Issei's new life comes to an end. Many things will happen now, along with more girls who know the brunette, but that won't be a problem, since all hell won't break loose until Rias comes to visit. Now Issei has met Kurumu and with that, he's added, without knowing it, another girl to his future harem, but that will be a story for another day. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Yaokai Academy. Dormitory rooms. Issei's room. -6:30 am. Now, more than one girl slept with the chestnut-haired man. The first was, as always, Ingvild, the second was Esdeath, and the third was none other than a certain black-haired Nekomata. But what are those girls doing with the brunette? You might ask. Well, it's simple. 2.5 weeks had passed since Kurumu's incident, and in that time interesting things happened, the first of which occurred just 2 days after Kurumu's. Flashback. 2 weeks and 2 days ago. It was the weekend at Yaokai Academy, and Issei was to receive the first visit from his beloved Rias. She had been unable to visit him last week due to clan matters and her university assignments that consumed valuable time. We positioned ourselves at the bus stop. Issei was alone, as Ingvild was with Mocha and Kurumu, the latter having reluctantly joined the purple-haired girl, since she wanted to be with Issei. The brown-haired boy was dressed as he usually is in Kuo. A red t-shirt under a long-sleeved black vest, dark blue jeans, and black Converse sneakers. Issei waited for the bus to arrive, hoping for Ria's arrival. What do you think your girlfriend will say when she realizes you're unconsciously building a harem? Drake asked Issei. Honestly I don't know, but I think he'll hit me first and then give me permission, Issei thought, resigned to the impending beating. Just then the bus arrived, driven by the gloomy driver who smiled when he saw Issei. Everything alright this time, young man? Asked the driver. Yes, everything has gone relatively well, I have no complaints, Issei said, and the driver smiled at that. That's good, although it's always the same, the calm before the storm. You have to be alert because something bad can happen when you least expect it, said the driver, and Issei nodded. Hasn't the principal called you yet? He asked Issei, who shook his head. He seems to have been busy, Issei said, since he hadn't seen the Yaokai Academy principal since he arrived. Well, you must have your reason, said the driver, lighting a cigarette, taking a drag, and letting out the smoke. Well, someone came to see you. I hope they have a nice visit, especially you, Miss Gremory, he said, looking behind him at Rias, who nodded with a smile. Rias got off the bus, looking spectacular in Issei's eyes. Wow, you look beautiful, Issei said, hugging Rias very close to him. Well, I'll leave you two lovebirds, I'll be back Sunday afternoon, miss, said the driver. Yes, and thank you for bringing me to my ice, Rias said gratefully, and the driver nodded and left on the bus. Well, now for the important stuff, Rias said, looking at Issei and throwing herself at him like a little girl. Ice, my ice, you don't know how much I miss you, Rias said, rubbing her face against his chest. He lifted her chin, making her blush. Ice, she whispered. Rias, my beautiful Rias, I missed you too, said Issei, bringing her to him and a loving kiss that Rias gladly returned, wrapping her delicate arms around Issei's neck as he hugged her around the waist. They continued like this for 6 minutes, tongue and all, until they separated for lack of air. They looked at each other lovingly and joined their foreheads while sharing a smile. Then a small cat, or female cat this time, black in color, appeared from a magic circle, and Issei knew who it was, and that made him frown, but strangely Rias seemed normal. At that moment, the cat transformed into a beautiful young lady in a black kimono with a hexy body, her expression sad as she watched Issei frown at her presence. Hello Ice Naya, Kuroka greeted Issei somewhat shyly, who looked at her and then at Rias. Did you bring her, Rias? Issei asked, and Rias nodded. Why? He asked, sounding annoyed, which saddened Kuroka, who lowered her ears upon realizing she was a nuisance to Issei. She has something important to talk to you about. She already spoke to me and the others, so I decided to bring her here since she asked Yasaka-sama for permission to see you. And after learning what happened, I decided to let you see her. So first, talk to her, and then introduce me to your friends that Ingvild mentioned, Ice, Rias said, then smiled very sweetly, scaring Issei. Yes, darling, I'll talk to her, he said, frightened, but his expression changed when he saw Kuroka. Come on, let's go somewhere else to talk, Issei said seriously, and a distressed Kuroka followed him a few meters away. Although she knew Rias would hear better, she ignored that. Once they were apart, she decided to confront the girl who had left him alone. So, what do you want to talk about? And make it quick, because I have things to do, Issei said seriously. I want to apologize for all the misunderstanding I caused by leaving you alone, Ice Naya, Kuroka said with a very sad look that Issei stared at strangely. Aha, and what misunderstandings there are, as far as I know you've been seeing a yakai boy in Kyoto since Kun told me about it, or are you going to tell me that all of that is a lie? Said Issei reluctant to believe the apology. That's why I apologize. It was a big misunderstanding. I wasn't seeing that boy in an intimate or romantic way. He's the boyfriend of a friend I made shortly after training in Kyoto. I met him because she brought him along one day. He was just friendly with me. I know that because of my stupidity and all that, I pushed you away. I got so caught up in my new friends that I neglected the person I care about. You've done so much for me and Shirin Naya that I have no other way to repay you than by giving you my love, Kuroka said, wanting to cry but holding back. Issei, for his part, was serious. He didn't know whether to believe it or not, but everything became clear thanks to something Drake said. She's not lying, you can see how sorry she is in her eyes. She loves you and regrets what she did, but forgiving her is your decision, my friend, Drake said. Seriously, Drake isn't lying? Issei asked, somewhat uncertain. I can feel her sorrow just by looking at her, she truly regrets what she did, the dragon said to his friend, who sighed. Ah, I shouldn't forgive you for leaving me behind, Issei said, and Kuroka wanted to cry, but she would respect his decision if he left her. What happened next would give her all the hope she needed. But I can see you're not lying, I forgive you, but that doesn't mean he didn't finish because he was tackled and kissed by a happy Kuroka who was crying tears of joy. Ah, damn it, I'd better take advantage of this, Issei thought, returning the kiss while holding her by the waist. Rias looked at them and smiled. Now only you are missing, he thought of the others who had moved away from Issei. Then Issei got up with Kuroka in his arms, since she didn't want to let go of Issei. Issei looked at Rias and smiled. Well, shall we go? Issei asked, and Rias stood beside him and then gave him a small but loving kiss on the lips. Let's go, Ice, Rias said. And so they both went towards the dormitories, transporting themselves in a magic circle to Issei's room. Issei's room. The trio arrived at Issei's room, where they were surprised to find none other than Esdeith waiting for Issei to go in with him. Huh? Esdeith, what are you doing here? Issei asked, intrigued. When she saw him, she smiled, although she frowned a little when she saw Rias and Kuroka. Well, I wanted to spend some time with you since I'm free from my teaching duties, but it seems you're busy, Esdeith said as she sat cross-legged on Issei's bed. She was wearing a white shirt and a mid-thigh black skirt with white sneakers. Oh, sorry about that, and about them, well, he said, pointing to Rias, is Rias Gremory, my girlfriend and future wife. He said this, making Rias blush at the wife comment. And he said, pointing to Kuroka, who was hugging his right arm, is my other girlfriend, Kuroka, and also my future wife. He said this, making Kuroka purr, happy that the future wife comment made her. Oh, so they're your partners, and here I thought I'd have you all to myself, but oh well, even though I'm jealous, I knew what I was getting into when I decided to be with you, Esdeith said resignedly, getting up to introduce herself. Forgive my lack of manners, my name is Esdeith Partas, a Yuki-onna, and I'm next in line to lead the Partas clan. It's a pleasure to meet you, Gremory heiress and Kuroka-san, Esdeith introduced herself politely. And you, are you from Ice Naya? Kuroka asked Esdeith, who smiled. Well, according to my clan's customs, I have to marry someone strong, brave, and so on, but I chose Issei based on my standards, which are almost the same, but with the addition that he had to be a few years younger than me and also have a smile that warms my cold heart, Esdeith said, blushing as she remembered Issei's smile. In short, Ice-kun is my fiancé, Fufufu, Esdeith said, hugging the brunette from the front. Issei was scared, he thought Rias would kill him, but he calmed down when he saw her strangely calm. What, huh? You're thinking about why I'm not angry, right Ice? Well, I don't mind sharing you much anymore, since I know I'm the first, besides I know she has good intentions toward you, since Yuki-onnas are a race of women faithful to their partners, even if the methods are incorrect when choosing a partner, said Rias. Issei calmed down and decided to start his quality time with the trio, he would reward Ingvild for distracting Mocha and Kurumu. Okay, we have this day to spend together and the next one too, so let's go have some fun, shall we? Issei said, smiling, and everyone felt happy about that. To be honest, I'm too lazy to write a date for the three of them and I want to move quickly on with the main story. The parts where I interact with other girls will just be supplementary to this fic to give it more depth, so I don't plan on including dates or anything. Of course, the girls will appear helping in some chapters, but I'm sorry about dates outside the main story. Anyway, let's continue. And so they spent the rest of the day having fun, thanks to Yasaka's permission and the fact that the principal was still busy. Issei and his lovely companions went on a date thanks to a magic circle cast by Rias. They first went for a walk around Tokyo looking for a nice place to hang out. Then they went to an arcade where Issei got the girls some plushies. A red dragon for Rias, a black kitten for Kuroka, and a blue dragon for Esdeath. Afterward, they went to lunch at the best restaurant in Tokyo. Then they spent the afternoon at a park where they had fun playing for a while, and of course, they snuggled up together under the shade of a tree under an illusion, of course, to avoid any disturbances. Naturally, the usual idiots who think they can do whatever they want just because they see a pretty girl passed by, and Issei didn't lift a finger when Esdeath, Kuroka, and especially Rias brushed them off. And well. Issei decided it was best not to make the girls angry again. Anyway, it was a date between the four of them where the girls were happy. They returned to the academy before nightfall, with Rias staying the night with Issei, and of course Kuroka and Esdeath joining them. Issei went to find Ingvild, who was in her room with Karumu and Mocha playing a board game. It was the only way to keep them quiet. Issei was quickly approached by both girls. Mocha first hugged him and then asked permission to draw some blood, which Issei allowed. Then Karumu started rubbing herself against Issei, which didn't seem to bother him much, but Issei turned the tables on her by pinning her against a wall, causing her to burst into a blush and a stream of blood to gush from her nostrils. After spending the night with the girls, they both went to sleep and Issei and Ingvild went to his room to rest. And so the next day, Issei spent a date with Rias, just the two of them. He took Rias to a special place Kyoto. It was special for the otaku. Issei showed her all over Kyoto, and thanks to the fact that the yokai knew them, those from Kyoto, things were easy for them. Rias was like a kid in a candy store, looking at and buying various things. Of course, Issei gave her several things as well. They had a pleasant time, sitting next to each other, tightly embraced, while watching the sunset from Kiyomizu-dera, where they, along with some other couples who were watching the sunset, kissed lovingly. These past 2 days have been wonderful for me, Ice. I've missed you so much since you started attending Yokai Academy, but today you've made me feel so loved, and for that I thank you, my love, Rias said, smiling beautifully. All for you, Rias, because out of all the others, you, along with Arena, Rossweisse, Yasaka, Rainer, Kaloriner, Ravel and Elmhild, are the only ones who didn't leave me behind, Issei said, kissing Rias, which she happily reciprocated. It's a shame they don't know how you are in bed. Akeno would die of jealousy if she knew what we do together, love, Rias said, wrapping her arms around Issei's neck as he pulled her closer, holding her by the waist. But I think that can be fixed with the girls, love, even if we ignore them for a while, so they know how you felt, Rias said, snuggled against her boyfriend future husband's chest. Okay, but I expect a good explanation because if it's for some stupid reason I won't go back to them, Issei said seriously. Rias lifted her face and looked into Issei's serious eyes. She felt sorry for the girls, but it was best to put that aside and focus on her own business. Let's forget about that and do something better, Rias said, beginning to kiss Issei's neck. I think I know what you want and well. Issei said, pulling her towards him. Seeing that no one was around, they teleported to his room. It was good to ask Ingvild to leave us alone tonight, although I know she'll ask for the same thing very soon, Issei said, kissing Rias and slipping his tongue into her mouth, making it a very sensual and hot kiss. Ah, that's good, love, Rias gasped, excited by how much Issei had aroused her. She stripped off her clothes, revealing sensual black lingerie that contrasted beautifully with her fair tender skin. I'm ready, my love, take me now, she pleaded desperately, and Issei smiled. Oh, my beautiful crimson queen, Issei said, removing his clothes until he was wearing black boxers, revealing a semi-erection threatening to burst forth beneath them. Issei approached Rias, positioning himself over her as she opened her legs, their covered privates brushing together, sending a small but powerful electric shock through both of them. Issei moved closer to her face, their breaths mingling. He looked directly into her eyes, blue and honey-colored, their gazes meeting with love and desire. You won't rest today, Issei said, capturing her lips in a fierce yet loving, wet kiss. And so the couple began a wild and passionate night together, although thanks to a spell of silence, no one heard anything. Then the next day Rias had to say goodbye to Issei with a loving kiss and promising that she would come to visit him next week. Then flashback. After that, Issei would see Rias on weekends. Thanks to Yasaka's help, Kuroka would now be in classes but would be in a higher grade to keep up appearances. He saw Esdeath more often since they got along well, and now she sleeps with him, Kuroka and Ingvild in his room, although Issei teleports her to his room to avoid problems. Issei woke up snuggled up to his girls, fondly gazing at their peaceful and smiling faces. He decided to wait for them to wake up, though Esdeath would probably be the first, as she was always the one who woke up early due to her training habits. Time skip. Academia Yokai. So, everyone, since the goal of the Yokai Academy is to help its students learn to live alongside humans, as I've been saying for a while now, that means that starting today, you'll all be joining an activities club. Shizuka Nekonom said, smiling as she explained to her students how joining a club would help them get used to human activities. So, visit several clubs to find one you like. Oh, and by the way, I recommend checking out the newspaper club. I'm in charge of it, she added, and Issei thought about checking it out after everything else. After all, he had to see what the academy had to offer. So a club, it would be interesting to try it out and see what's there, after all I won't just have to come here to act like a fool, Issei thought. Although you do it more to see those girls haha, if your redeed girlfriend were here, there would be a bigger mess than World War II, Drake said, and Issei just thought he was right. The club, how exciting. I can't wait to see what we can find. Mocha said happily. Although I'd like to join one with Ice and Ingvild-chan, she added, and Issei smiled. I'd also like to be with Ice-san and you, Mocha-san, Ingvild said. Hey, where's Kurumu-chan? Issei asked the two girls, who looked at each other and denied knowing. Oh, maybe we'll run into her on the way, Issei said, since class had already ended and everyone had left. He saw Nekonom packing her things and decided to talk to her. Girls, go ahead, I have something to tell Shizuka-sensei, Issei said. Okay Ice, but don't take too long because we want to see which club we can join, Mocha said, with Ingvild nodding. Yes, that's fine girls, I won't be long, Issei said, and they nodded to leave while chatting. Issei approached Shizuka, who smiled when she noticed him. What do you want, Ice Naya? She asked, looking at Issei. I was just interested in learning about that club you have. Of course, I'll check some out, but something tells me I should ask first, so I don't waste time, Issei said, and she was pleased since they only had one member in the club. She even hugged him, grateful that there was no one around, although Issei knew that someone was watching from outside, but he didn't know who. That's great, Naya, we only have 2 second-year members, but if you're willing to join, I'm more than happy to accept you into the Ice Naya club, Shizuka said, smiling, and explained the typical things about the journalism club. Interesting, well I won't keep the girls waiting any longer, so see you later, let's see what the academy has to offer haha said Issei, stroking the Catwoman's head, who purred at such affection. Issei stepped outside only to be approached by a certain girl. I see Naya, I've been wanting to see you, said Kuroka, wearing the academy's female uniform, which flattered her as it showed off her well-formed curves. Issei liked what he saw. Studying is boring, but if it's because I'm in the same school as you, I can put up with it, but it's still boring, complained the Nekomata with a pout that Issei wiped away by gently kissing her lips, making her blush, but cheering her up. Are you feeling better? He asked, receiving a nod from her. Good, how about you come with me since I suppose you're looking for a club, although I think more specifically the one I joined, Issei said, and she clung to his right arm, placing it between her breasts, while smiling in that way she knew how. You know, Ice Naya, that I'll always be with you, and I won't be in a club where you're not, Kuroka said, smiling, and Issei kissed her forehead. Alright, let's go, Mocha and Ingvild are waiting, said Issei, and Kuroka nodded. Time skip. Issei, Mocha, Ingvild, and Kuroka watched the throng of students of different grades, looking at the club booths. Whoa, great, look how many clubs are advertising here. Mocha said excitedly. Which club do you guys want to join? Mocha asked her friends. Let Ice-san in, said Ingvild. Likewise Naya, said Kuroka, still clinging to Issei's arm, much to the annoyance of the two girls. I don't know, we'd have to see what they offer, so we can see what's interesting, said Issei, not really caring which club he was in. Okay, it's decided. Mocha said happily. We'll visit all the clubs to see which one to join, Mocha said, and everyone agreed. Although I'll be in the one Ice is in, she thought with a cute blush. And that's how the four of them began to see what the clubs had to offer. Under everyone's gaze the boys were looking at the trio of beauties and some of the girls were looking at Issei. Wow beautiful Mocha-san, Ingvild-san, Kuroka-senpai, you have to become models, said a ghostly looking guy holding a camera. You have to join our ghost photography club, please let us take lots of pictures of you, said the creepy looking guy. What's up with this guy? Issei thought, puzzled and somewhat annoyed. Naked, okay, he said with a perverted look, just two. Yummy. The punch crashes into his face, courtesy of an annoyed Issei who was being hugged by a happy Kuroka, since only Issei could take pictures of her. And next time I'll shove that camera up your nose and pull it out through your ear, Issei said angrily as Mocha dragged him away to avoid trouble. Photography club out. Mocha, Ingvald and Kuroka, you three should join our chemistry club, said a bespectacled man. Let's make lots of love potions together, he added, oblivious to the fact that Issei had grabbed some test tubes containing strange liquids and thrown them at them, causing a small explosion that created smoke that only affected the group of idiots. That's the love potion for you, from Russia with love, Issei said as he continued the tour with the girls. They continued watching, but all the other clubs were a scam, since they were only after Mocha, Ingvald and Kuroka. Of course, the Nekomata couldn't stand it and kicked them all out since they were bothering her time with Issei. Are no clubs worth it? Issei asked. It seems not, said Kuroka. They're all weird, Mocha said. Yes, said Ingvald. Let's go, none of the clubs here are worth it, said Issei, overheard by a beautiful girl. Oh? So what about the swimming club? Asked a beautiful female voice. When Issei turned his head, he found a gorgeous woman with turquoise hair, fair skin, and yellow eyes. She had a body like Kuroka's, so they're even for what I want XD, and was wearing a swimsuit that left little to the imagination. I'm Tamao Ichinus, representative of the swimming club, Tamao introduced herself, looking directly at Issei, something Kuroka didn't like at all, since she caught a scent from that girl. Whoa. It's the girls from the swim club. Some boy said, looking at the beautiful girls from the club who were promoting it. Those swimsuits really turn me on. They're such beautiful girls. The others said, making Issei sweat. Did I really act like that around Mitsuda and Motohama? Ah, the good thing is that they got girlfriends, otherwise we'd be worse, Issei thought when he saw Tamao approaching him. When Tamao was close, she took his hands, making the girls jealous, although instinctively more so Kuroka, who growled. The swimming club only has female members, but the girls will be happy to give special attention to any boy who wants to join, Tamao said, looking Issei in the eyes. But when Issei saw her eyes, he was reminded of Rainer's eyes when she was manipulated a while ago. Something was wrong with this girl. Issei didn't finish because the orgasmic and idiotic boys started shouting that they wanted to be in the club and other bullshit, while Issei and the others were dragged against their will to the pool area. Academy swimming pool. Everyone was already there, and Issei's group watched as several of the boys who had come were already in the water with several of the girls. Well, we're here now, what do you think of the place, girls? Issei asked. I don't care, Kuroka said, hugging Issei tightly. But I don't want that girl near you too much, Naya, Kuroka whispered to Issei, who smiled and kissed her cheek without the others noticing, making Kuroka blush. Well, I think it's a nice place, said Ingvald. Mocha said, trying to say something. What's wrong, Mocha-chan? Come on, tell me what's wrong, Issei said, and she looked at him and let out a sigh. We vampires can't just enter the water like that because of its purifying properties, without a mixture of herbs, the water harms us too much, Mocha said somewhat embarrassed, thinking that they would be annoyed with her, but Issei stroked her head, making her blush. Ah, that explains everything, don't worry, after all I had already planned for this, it's just that I know a vampire, and she told me the same thing, and well, I had forgotten haha, said Issei, and the others nodded. So? Tamao said, arriving at the scene, are you planning to join the club? She asked, looking particularly at Issei. How to say this without sounding rude, Issei said, just to let Kuroka speak. No, we won't be joining the club, since we all want to be with Ice Naya, and Mokakai has problems, so no, the black-haired girl said sharply, looking at Tamao, who smiled tensely at that. Ignoring everything they said, Tamao approached Issei and took his hand, slowly pulling him along. On, Tamao said with a fake smile, and Issei knew someone had either intimidated or manipulated her, because her eyes reflected a gleam that didn't match her actions. Just swim a little with us, Tamao offered, as Issei noticed several girls behind her trying to tempt him. The key word was trying, because if he had been the virgin he used to be, he would have run like a fool toward them, but now things were different, especially since he had lost his virginity to his beloved Redeed. As Kuroka said, we're not interested, we want to be together and well, we can't if one of us can't be there, Issei said, but Tamao's face changed to an evil one. That doesn't matter, she said, throwing Issei into the water, catching the brunette off guard. This action annoyed the girls, but Kuroka the most. Tamao entered the water to be near Issei and looked at him with malice. This club is just a front. Our real objective is to steal men's life energy, she explained as several of the girls transformed, their lower limbs becoming fish tails and aquatic features appearing. The same thing happened to Tamao. You see, we seduce men to steal their life energy, Tamao said to an Issei who was astonished but not intimidated. He had dealt with things 1,000 times worse than her. But the girls. I knew something was wrong with that girl, Kuroka grumbled, realizing what it was. She's nothing but a damn mermaid, the Nekomata said angrily, seeing that stupid fish near her dragon. I'll make her into cat food, she said angrily. I found them, said the voice of a newly arrived Kurumu, who was carrying a basket of cookies. Upon arriving, she observed the commotion. But what's going on here? She asked, confused, then saw Issei being surrounded by several of the girls. Huh? Ice-kun is being surrounded by mermaids. Quick, we have to help him. She said, worried about Issei, but Ingvild shook her head. Huh? But don't you see that they're very dangerous in the water? The succubus said, agitated. It's more dangerous for Ice and if Kurumu-san bothers him, so don't worry about him, worry about making sure nothing happens to them, Ingvild said, watching what was about to happen alongside Mocha. Now how would you handle this, Ice-kun? Inner Mocha wondered, watching what was happening from the rosary. Issei saw that he was surrounded by the mermaids and also saw how almost all the boys were turned old when they bit them. He had to do something and fast, so he would use something he had been learning from Tannen, applying it in the pool. Well Drag, we'll use that, but to a lesser extent. Some are being controlled and I don't want to hurt them, so we'll just get them out of the water, Issei said to his partner. Understood, old man said Drag. Yufufu, as you can see, you're surrounded, but don't worry, I won't hurt you Tamao said, stepping behind Issei and hugging him from behind, while slipping her hands under his wet shirt. You have a nice body she said, letting go and positioning herself in front of him. Ever since I saw you at the entrance ceremony, I've been interested in you. You give off an exquisite scent, and I like that, Tamao said, placing a hand on Issei's left cheek, who was still looking at her seriously. Come on, why so serious? I just want to eat you, she said, but she didn't even open her jaws before Issei forcefully pushed her out of the water. She bounced onto the ground outside the pool, and when she stopped, she glared at him angrily. Hey, why did you do that? She asked irritably. You know, Tamao-senpai, I'd like to talk to you more calmly, but when you stop pretending to be someone you're not, Issei said, surprising Tamao. I don't know who's threatening you, but you shouldn't follow their advice. You have to be yourself and not pretend to be something else, Issei said seriously, causing Tamao's eyes to widen. Had he found out? As for you all, do you like hot springs? Because I love them, Issei said to all the mermaids, who were surprised by the question. That was until, strangely, the pool water began to slowly heat up and it became uncomfortable for them to stay in, so they got out as the water started to boil. Issei was grateful to Kuroka and Ingvild for having rescued the students affected by the sirens. The reason for the boiling water was due to one thing. Issei had discovered his affinity for fire during one of his training sessions with Tannen. So, Issei tried to learn fire techniques from some of the dragons in the area. When he learned an interesting one, it was a technique in which his body began to emit an amount of heat that could affect his surroundings in different ways. It could be as warm as a hug or as hot as the heat of an active volcano. He simply applied enough heat to be felt on a super hot summer day, and the pool began to boil. Issei slowly emerged from the water, his wet shirt clinging to his body, eliciting various reactions, from blushes, Mocha and Ingvild, to desire and nosebleeds, Kuroka, Kurumu and Tamao, who imagined Issei naked on top of her. Issei moved towards Tamao, but someone interrupted. It seems they failed this time, Tamao-chan, said a soft feminine voice, belonging to a black-haired girl with long hair and a good figure, walking with a fake smile, until she stood in front of a trembling Tamao. President, let me explain this, Tamao said, but the woman now known as the president of the swimming club looked at her as if she were trash and hit her so hard that she slammed against the fence surrounding the place, making her writhe in pain. You filthy, useless thing, you're nothing but a useless virgin who can't do her job properly, you're a disgrace to our species, the woman said with disgust, watching the beloved Tamao cry over it. Hey. Why the hell did you do that? Issei asked angrily. I hope you're the one responsible for Tamao-senpai acting that way. Tell me what you did to her, you damn girl. Issei shouted, now really angry. She looked at him and smiled cynically. So what if it was me, you idiot brat? She should just do what I say. After all, she's useless, and I only brought her here because she has a nice body. Otherwise, the story would have been very different, the woman said, and that annoyed Issei even more. Hey you damn disgusting fish, don't talk to Ice Naya like that. Kuroka said furiously, preparing Senjutsu spheres to hurt that stupid girl who was bothering her man. What did you call me, you damned woman? The president shouted angrily, glaring at Kuroka. What, your stupid black seaweed that you have for hair covered your fish ears, stupid, Kuroka said, further annoying the girl. Damn it, I'll deal with you later, after I'm done with this brat, she said, looking at Issei and taking in his appearance. She licked her lips, sending a chill down Issei's spine. Although, come to think of it, I'll use him and then eat him, haha, if that's what I'll do. She didn't finish because Issei, tired of it, punched her, sending her tumbling into the hot pool. Ah, this burns. The woman screamed in pain. Ingvild quickly changed the water temperature just so Issei could finish. You stupid idiot, now I'll kill you. she yelled angrily, but Issei just ignored her and entered the water. Ha, stupid, we mermaids are invincible in the water. She didn't finish because, with incredible speed, Issei appeared in front of her and with an uppercut sent her flying back to where the girls were. Arg, my beautiful face. She complained, clutching her face. You know something? Issei said, emerging from the water under the impressed gaze of a recovered Tamao, who had witnessed everything. I hate it when someone uses others for their stupid purposes. Using someone is disgusting and completely repulses me, Issei continued, standing before Mocha. He sensed a pulse of Yauki emanating from her, indicating that inner Mocha wanted to teach him a lesson. I don't usually hit girls, but when they push my buttons, I don't care. Of course, I wouldn't do that to someone I love, but I wouldn't let them get away with it either, so I'd better let someone teach you a lesson in respect, Issei said, looking Mocha in the eyes. She nodded. What nonsense are you spouting, you bastard? She said angrily, but she felt a chill run down her spine as she saw the sky change to red, and from where Mocha was supposed to be, she felt an abnormal power. Huh? What the hell is this power? She asked, frightened. Ah, it's good to go out once in a while. Hello Ice-kun, it's been a while, said inner Mocha, hugging Issei, who smiled at her. She kissed Issei's cheek, and to the annoyance of Kuroka, Kurumu, and Ingvald, Mocha slammed the girl to the ground and looked at her as if she were trash. So, controlling others, huh? How stupid. You're so weak that you need to control others to achieve your goals. What an insignificant being, Mocha said arrogantly, causing everyone to sweat drop, but it annoyed the girl, while Tamao watched from where she stood, impressed. So you're Akashia Mocha, the famous vampire, so what? She said, becoming brave. I'll defeat you and become the strongest in the academy. The suicidal girl said, launching herself at Mocha, who smiled arrogantly. So you'll be the most powerful in the academy? Oh yeah? And who decided that? Mocha said, preparing one of her famous kicks. You can't decide to be the strongest when you lack power, Mocha said, delivering a tremendous kick that sent her crashing into the pool, sinking to the bottom. Know your place, insignificant creature, Mocha declared, then turned to the group and looked at Issei with a smile. Well, I know you could have done it yourself, but I wanted to do something too, so thank you, Ice-kun, she said sincerely, and Issei smiled, crossing his arms. You know, you've changed a lot lately, Mocha. You're not the same person I met a month ago, Issei said, and she just shrugged. That's right, Mocha-san used to be more serious and cold, now she's very different, Ingvald said. Yes, Naya, could it be that Ice Naya has something to do with that, Naya? Kuroka asked, and Mocha blushed slightly but did not deny it. Hey, that's unfair, Kurumu said, hanging onto Issei's back. The brunette caught her soft legs to help her hold on better. All of you have Ice-kun to yourselves, and I haven't even had my turn with him yet, she complained, pressing her large breasts against Issei's back as she hugged his neck and buried her face in it. Issei just smiled. Everyone, and even Tamao-senpai, who looked at Issei in a different light when he defended her from that girl who floated like a dead fish, face down, looked jealously at Kurumu for what she did. HMPH, never mind, Ice-kun, see you later, keep taking care of my other self, said inner Mocha, both jealous and blushing, as she took the rosary and returned to her outer self, who fell into Issei's arms. Alright, it's time to go now that I know which club we can join, Issei said, surprising everyone. Huh? What do you mean? Ingvald asked. Ice Naya, why did we see several clubs if you already had a place to go? Kuroka asked. Well, it's easy, but I wanted to see what they offered, but it seems it was a mistake, Issei said, and they nodded. As they were about to leave, Issei saw Tamao and decided to approach her. Tamao-senpai, Issei called to the girl, who looked at him. Issei smiled gently at her. I know it wasn't the best way to meet, but I also know you didn't have a choice. I hope we meet again in the future, Issei said as he walked back to the girls. But before reaching them, he looked at Tamao again. You should leave this club since they only treat you like trash. So find a club where you fit in better. See you later and have a nice day, Issei said, and with that, he left with the girls to look for Shizuka. Tamao pondered what Issei had told her and made a decision. She looked around and saw how several of the girls who had been threatened, just like her, were taking the boys who were unwell to the infirmary. Tamao went to get her things and marked her departure, but not before submitting her resignation from the swimming club. She then dressed in her academy uniform and left with a new goal. Issei Hyodou-kun, she said to herself, smiling genuinely, a beautiful smile that would make anyone fall in love. I think I like him, she said to herself and went to her room in the girls' dormitories. Tomorrow she would change clubs to be closer to the brunette. Issei and his friends found Shizuka and explained that they wanted to join the journalism club. She hugged Issei for bringing so many people to the club, which annoyed Kuroka, who tried to pull the Catwoman away from Issei, but she ended up joining the hug, much to the others' annoyance. And that's how they joined the journalism club. Somewhere in the academy. Shinobu watched what Issei did in the pool through a crystal sphere with admiration. She stopped watching and decided to talk to the person in front of her. "So?" said the blonde, looking at the beautiful green-haired woman in front of her. "What does the legendary Morrigan Eansland want with me?" Shinobu asked, looking at Morrigan, who was in her tight-fitting teacher's outfit and standing with her legs crossed in front of the blonde. "Easy, you know Issei Hyodou from before, right?" she asked, and Shinobu looked at her suspiciously. She noticed and smiled. "It's not a bad thing at all. It's just that I want to know what he likes and doesn't like. You see, ever since I found out the current Sekiryuutei was attending classes here, I became very interested, and even more so when I heard he was strong. And in the month I've known him, from what little I've seen, I've really come to like what I've seen," Morgan said, and the blonde looked at her jealously, as if she wanted to take Issei away. The green-haired girl saw this and smiled. "Don't worry, I know you like him. It shows in your eyes, and I wouldn't mind sharing him. After all, we Succubi are more open about harems, and believe it or not, we're very loyal to our partners, so don't worry that just because we're sharing, I'll go looking for other partners too," she said, and Shinobu nodded, blushing, pleased that she knew she loved Issei. "And what do you want to know?" "You have to keep in mind that I left when he was 11 years old and I haven't seen him since," she said. "Even I'm surprised at how much he's changed," the blonde added. "Yes, he got more handsome," Morgan said, trying to tease her. "Yes, very handsome. Wait, don't make me say that, I'm blushing," Shinobu said, blushing as she fell into Morgan's trap. "Ahaha, it was just a game, so tell me about him, tell me what you know," Morgan said, and Kissshot just sighed. And so they both began to talk about Issei. While the black cat was looking at Issei from afar, only Kuroka looked at her, the Nekomata looked at Yoruichi, and smiled just like the cat. "Wow, who would have thought that a few weeks ago I would meet Kuro-chan again, but it's better this way," she tells her about me, and I introduce myself. "Fufufu, it's good to have good friends," she said to herself, and then continued with what she was doing. In one of the rooms of the female dormitory, a blue-haired girl with long, slightly wavy hair at the ends and fair skin was asleep in a transparent pink nightgown, revealing her fair skin with purple underwear. She was beautiful and murmured a name in her sleep. "Sekiryuutei-sama. Loves him," the blue-haired girl said dreamily while hugging a plushie that was released for Issei's fans in the supernatural world. In Kuo Hyodou residence. Rias stared intently at the girl sitting across from her. Although she was angry, she noticed the girl had been feeling down and sad lately, ever since Rias angrily reprimanded the girls for leaving Issei alone. They gave her silly reasons like we wanted to give him his space, or we were trying to figure out how to deal with Issei by asking one of the girls who knew about romantic feelings. When Rias said that Issei had left home on a mission because of the situation, they all felt bad and cried, but the one who was suffering the most was the young woman sitting across from Rias. "Give me one reason why I let you see ice," Rias said, arms and legs crossed, looking at the girl in front of her. Akeno," Rias said. The day had been a crazy day for Issei, getting to know how crazy the other clubs are and helping a girl, typical for him, but even so, that's not all, things are yet to come and he has to be prepared. End of Chapter 4. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. The next day. Yaokai Academy. The day the journalism club started, Issei had already given Mocha her dose of blood, although whenever she finishes she has a blush on her face he ignores it, since it is nothing strange, according to him. Mocha, Kuroka, Ingvald and Issei were walking towards the journalism club room, chatting about various things, and of course Kuroka and Ingvald were clinging to Issei, much to Mocha's jealousy, who scolded them for it. "Issei koi," said Kurumu's voice as she appeared in front of Issei, hugging him. Issei returned the gesture, much to Mocha's jealousy. "Today we start the club, right? I'm excited to be in a club with you," Ice Koi said Issei's succubus, who smiled nervously at that. "Kurumu-chan, leave Ice alone," Mocha said. "Yes, leave Ice Naya alone," Kuroka said. Ingvald just smiled ironically at this. "Alright girls, calm down and let's go to the club, I'm sure Shizuka-sensei is waiting for us," said Issei, and the three of them calmed down. Moments later. Journalism club room. Issei and company arrived in front of the classroom where they would be attending after school from now on. "Alright, let's go in," said Issei, opening the door for the girls to enter. "Oh, they're here, that's great," Shizuka said, smiling. "Although they're not the first ones, Issei and the others were surprised, or at least that's what they thought until they noticed who was in the room. "Hamao-senpai?" Issei asked, looking at the second-year girl wearing the academy uniform while smiling calmly at them. "What a surprise, but wasn't I in the swimming club?" Issei asked. Kuroka became alert. This girl loves her Ice Naya and she doesn't like that at all. "I quit that club. I couldn't stay there any longer, knowing what the president would do if I didn't obey," Tamao said, approaching Issei. "I'm sorry for all the trouble I caused you and your friends, Hyodou-kun." I really didn't mean to. The president forced me to do those things, Tamao said apologetically. No problem, so hold your head up Tamao-senpai, as you say it wasn't your fault, you were forced like the rest of the girls, so don't worry about it, besides call me Ice after all we'll be working together from now on, said Issei smiling at Tamao who smiled back, blushing. That's great, Ice-kun. I promise to be a good friend, so don't hesitate to ask me for help whenever you want, Ice-kun Tamao said flirtatiously at the end, and that's where Kuroka came in. Okay, all that apology stuff is very nice, but don't think it'll get you any closer to Ice Naya when you want freshwater fish, Kuroka said, teasing Tamao about the fish thing. Oh yeah? And just because some silly cat asks me to, I have to do it? Tamao asked defiantly. If you looked closely, you could see lightning bolts coming out of both of their eyes. Everyone was nervous, even Issei. It seems Kuroka has found her nemesis, Issei thought, watching the two girls argue. Alright, calm down please, Tamao-san, Kuroka-san, the teacher requested, which both girls reluctantly did. Alright, first of all, welcome to the journalism club, kids. I'm glad you're here. Now it's time to start the club's activities, Shizuka declared, surprising the six present. Shizuka-sensei? Mocha asked. Yes, Mocha-san. Shizuka asked. So, are we the only members of the club? Mocha asked. No, there are two more, although they are delayed in arriving, Shizuka said, putting a finger to her chin. At that moment the classroom door opened, revealing two figures. We're sorry we're late, sensei. Nai-san was busy with other things, said a female voice. It belonged to a pretty, slender, brown-haired girl, who was still quite beautiful. Behind her came a boy with 3 bouquets of flowers and a Colgate brand smile. Ugh, Nai-san, you're such an idiot, the girl said, watching her brother approach Ingvild, Mocha, and Kurumu. Kuroka quickly got behind Issei, glaring at him. This raised an eyebrow on Issei's face. Greetings, said the handsome boy, smiling as he walked over to where the 3 girls were watching him. I'm the president of the journalism club, Morioka Janae. Nice to meet you, the dark-haired man introduced himself, now standing before the trio. Oh, sensei told me about you too. What lovely new members you are, said Janae, handing each of them a bouquet. Ingvild quickly moved behind Issei, which Janae noticed and glanced at the brunette. She's in the way, he thought, watching Issei pat Kuroka and Ingvild's heads. He continued on to the 2 girls who stayed close, but his gaze fell specifically on Mocha. You can call me Jin. Ah, red flowers always suit beautiful ladies, he said, trying to play the charmer. Nai-san, that's enough. His sister yelled, hitting him on the back of the head. Jin hurt and fell to the ground with a bump. Well, excuse my silly brother, but he's always like that when he sees pretty girls, haha. Sorry for my late introduction. My name is Morioka Holo, and I'm this idiot's younger sister and vice president of the journalism club, haha. Nice to meet you, Holo greeted, introducing herself to everyone before turning to Tamao. Oh, Tamao-chan, it's surprising to see you here. Weren't you at the swimming club? Holo asked, approaching her friend, who shook her head. I asked for one, but they didn't give me many, they told me a maximum of 5, but I still needed a chestnut, and this was the only one I found so, sorry if I didn't take them into account. I changed clubs because of problems with the president, so now I'm in this club, besides she said, then smiled, approaching Issei and pushing Kuroka aside, who growled at her and hugged the brunette's left arm. Thanks to Ice-kun I'm here haha, the girl said, and Holo looked at Issei with some intrigue, but smiled. Wow, I wasn't expecting that, so you're Hyodou Issei, it's a pleasure to meet you, Holo greeted, extending his hand to say hello. Nice to meet you, Holo-senpai. You can call me Ice. After all, we'll be together at the club. And one question. How do you know about me? Issei asked, intrigued. Well, who wouldn't? They say you were responsible for that boy who was your classmate being both suspended and in the hospital, and they say you're very strong. Rumors travel fast through the academy, Holo said. Wow, I was expecting that, to be honest, haha, said Issei. Kuroka looked at Holo and gave the brunette a sharp look, who noticed and smiled. But look what we have here, if it isn't just the cat, how are you, silly cat? Holo asked. Shut up, flea-ridden one, go play with a stick, said Kuroka. Do they know each other? Issei asked. We're in the same class, unfortunately, Kuroka said. Now it's a trio that will fight, cat, fish and dog, damn, that's all we needed, Issei thought as he saw Tamao and Holo looking at Kuroka. Well, Shizuka said, clapping her hands to get everyone's attention. Holo stood next to his brother, who was beside Shizuka. Jin-kun and Holo-chan are the only older members of the club. You can ask them anything you don't know about the club, Shizuka said, then looked at the 2 siblings. Well, I'll leave you to the group now, as I have a teachers' meeting. See you later, guys. Get along well with your upperclassmen, Shizuka said, leaving the room to go to her meeting. Ice-kun, I don't like boys like him, said Kurumu, standing behind Issei, who simply stroked her head, much to her delight and Mocha's jealousy. After Shizuka left, both siblings became serious. Well, we'll explain what the journalism club is all about, Janae began. Yes, it's so you know the things we'll be doing, Holo said. So the two brothers explained the essentials of how the club worked, which I won't write out because I'm literally too lazy. After the explanation, everyone was watching the two brothers, who were smiling, although Jin only smiled at the girls. Okay, now, we'll be in dangerous situations to achieve our goal, so I'm telling you now this won't be an easy road, Jin said seriously, but his sister was looking at him like he was an idiot. Stop being silly, don't listen to him, Nai-san isn't serious, Horo said, smiling as he pulled out a poster. This is our announcement poster, let's all put them up around the school, Horo said, smiling. They seem trustworthy, Mocha whispered to Issei, who nodded. It seems so, Ingvild said, not very convinced. Well, since we have several members, we'll split up to put up the posters around the academy, said Horo. The first group will consist of Tamao-chan, the cat and me, Horo said, teasing Kuroka about it. So let's go, Horo said, and the trio left with a handful of posters and tape. I think they'll be good friends, Issei said, watching the three of them fight, although Kuroka was more likely to fight with the other two. What does that tell you? Ingvild asked, not believing it. Opposites attract and they'll get along well, Issei said, and Ingvild just nodded. Well, Issei, you can go with Ingvild-chan, Janae said, and Issei just looked at him. Okay, Issei said. Let's go, Ingvild. And so they both left the clubroom. Minus 15 minutes later. Issei was returning for more tape alone, since Ingvild had gone to check that Kuroka wouldn't fight Horo and Tamao. Issei opened the door only to find something that annoyed him. What was it? Well. Is this height enough to put up the poster, senpai? Asked Mocha, standing on a chair and holding a poster. No, even higher, said Jin, smiling like an idiot. Kurumu complained, doing the same thing as Mocha. What, even more? Mocha asked. Yes, much more, said Jin, slowly crouching down. Issei watched this with annoyance. He wouldn't have stooped so low, well, yes, but in a more ingenious way. What do you think you're doing, senpai? Issei asked, still standing in the doorway of the room, looking at Janae with annoyance. Hey, what are you talking about? Janae asked, pretending to be clueless. Don't play dumb, you were looking under her skirts, Issei said angrily. Nonsense, I would never do something as deplorable as that, said Janae, trying to deflect the blame. What's going on? Mocha asked, already under the chair, next to Kurumu. Both were intrigued by what was happening. Oh, this guy says he got a good view of her panties, Janae said, smiling and trying to blame Issei, who looked at him like he was stupid. They both said, alarmed, looking at Issei who, seeing their reactions, became annoyed. Are you seriously going to believe that? You know I have better things to do than put up with this nonsense, and you, Issei said, annoyed, to both girls, who were startled. Then he saw Janae looking at him. Be careful, because if I catch you doing this kind of thing, you'd better pray to whoever you can, because God won't save you, Issei threatened, and left angrily. Janae felt chills at that threat, but put that aside. Mocha and Kurumu felt bad for distrusting Issei. They would have to apologize. At that moment the trio, along with Ingvild, arrived at the hall, but noticed that everyone was silent. Where's Ice Naya? Kuroka asked, looking for Issei. Ingvild nodded, as she wanted to see Issei too. He left, I caught him looking at Mocha-chan and Kurumu-chan's panties, he didn't want to accept the blame, and he left, said Janae. His sister approached and hit him. Hey, why was that? Jin asked angrily. I don't know what you did, but it's your fault. Now, because of you, the club meeting is ruined, Horo said, noticing that Kuroka, Tamao and Ingvild were no longer in the room, along with Kurumu and Mocha, who had also left. Janae saw his sister go and left him. When he was alone, he smiled, thinking that this way he could have Mocha with him, poor naive fool. With Issei. Issei was walking calmly towards the dorms. He was going to read manga for a while, but suddenly. Rain? Issei wondered, since it was unusual for it to rain in this place so suddenly. How strange, Issei said, but he didn't dwell on it. He didn't have much with him besides his phone, which he covered with a small amount of waterproof magic to protect it. Well, at least it's refreshing, Issei said, enjoying the rain as he continued on his way. After walking for a while, he heard a noise among the trees surrounding the dormitory area cry. Issei could hear it clearly through the rain thanks to his dragon features, so he approached to see who was crying in the downpour. He approached some trees when he heard the crying more clearly. A girl, he thought. As he got closer to where the crying was coming from, he found a girl with long dark blue hair and fair skin. She was wearing the academy uniform, which was strangely dry despite the rain that was getting heavier every minute. Issei couldn't see her face because, sitting on the ground, it was hidden by her legs. "Hey, are you okay?" Issei asked, catching the girl's attention. Hearing him speak, she looked up and saw him. Now Issei saw her face and could only think one thing. She's beautiful, the brunette thought, appreciating the blue-haired girl's natural beauty. Only with the Yokai Academy uniform. Who are you? What do you want with Juvia? Asked the blue-haired girl, now called Juvia, wiping away her tears but still looking very sad. Well, I was heading straight to my room when I heard someone crying. I wanted to see who it was and I found you. I'm Hyodou Issei, by the way, Issei said, introducing himself to the blue-haired girl who stared at him. Juvia wants to be alone, so go away and leave Juvia alone, Juvia said, wanting Issei to leave. He, for his part, looked at her. I don't think you want to be alone. Something happened to make you act like this. Tell me, is someone bothering you? Making fun of you? Saying mean things to you? Tell me, you're crying for no reason, Issei said. Juvia looked into his eyes, but then looked down. What do you care about what happens to Juvia? You don't even know Juvia to begin with, so why do you care about Juvia? The girl said to Issei, who looked at her and then looked up, thinking. Well, it's true I don't know you, but I mean, I don't like seeing a girl cry, so I don't know how to explain it, I just like to help, Issei said, looking at Juvia, who looked at him. So tell me, maybe I can help you, Issei said, offering his help to Juvia. I don't think you can help Juvia. Nobody wants to be near her. They avoid her, they don't want to be her friends, and they say she's a nuisance to everyone. It's always been like this. Juvia has never had a friend her whole life. She's all alone, Juvia said, shrinking further into her seat. Issei looked at her and thought that she seemed to have been ostracized since childhood, but he didn't understand why, since he felt she was a nice person. There must be something that made them avoid her. He sat down next to her, surprising Juvia, who looked at him. What are you doing? Leave Juvia alone, the girl said, but she saw that Issei just looked at her and smiled gently. Tell me, Juvia, why doesn't anyone want to be your friend? Maybe if you tell me, I can help you with that, Issei said, trying to understand the problem. Juvia looked at him for a moment, but then looked down at the floor. If I tell you, it'll keep you away from Juvia, just like the others, the girl said, not wanting to tell Issei anything. The brunette placed a hand on her shoulder, and she looked at him. I promise not to, so you can confidently tell me why nobody wants to be your friend, even though you don't know me, Issei said, making Juvia spill the beans. Nobody wants to be friends with Juvia because Juvia is a water woman. When Juvia is sad, she makes it rain. Unconsciously, people distance themselves from Juvia, make fun of her, and hurt her, just for being a water woman who makes it rain and saddens the day, Juvia said. Issei stood up and stood in front of Juvia. She already knew what would happen. They will also distance themselves from Juvia and hurt her, the blue-haired girl thought sadly, but she didn't expect what was next. Ahahaha, Issei laughed at what he'd heard, finding it ridiculous that people were avoiding Juvia just for that reason. The blue-haired girl took it badly and glared at Issei. Stop laughing at Juvia's problem. She yelled angrily, standing up. Issei looked at her as he stopped laughing. I'm not laughing at your problem, it's just hilarious that no one wants to be your friend just because of that. I mean, you don't seem like a bad person. What does it matter that you're a water woman? Everyone here is different from other yokai, so I don't think a water woman is unpleasant. What do you make it rain? So what? After all, rain is nice, and I personally like it. So if no one wants to be your friend, I can be, Issei said, smiling. Juvia was stunned. No one in her life had ever taken the time to say those words to her, except for the one who had taken care of her since she was little. No one had been kind enough to say those words to her, and no one had ever asked to be her friend, but here he was to offer her his friendship, and that made Juvia so happy that she smiled while crying tears of joy. Are you serious? You're not lying to Juvia, are you? Do you really want to be friends with Juvia? The blue-haired girl asked, hoping the brown-haired boy wasn't joking. Issei extended his hand, offering her a gentle smile. I would never lie about such things, Juvia, Issei said. The blue-haired girl took his hand, smiling as she stood up to give Issei a beautiful smile. She really is beautiful. They're all idiots for thinking she's unpleasant, Issei thought. Thank you, Hyodou-san, for wanting to be Juvia's friend, Juvia said, hugging Issei. This took Issei by surprise, but he returned the gesture nonetheless. Call me Ice, Juvia, after all we're friends, Issei said. Hi Ice-san, Juvia said, smiling. After that, Issei spent the rest of the afternoon getting to know Juvia Loxer. He learned that she lived with a woman she considered her mother, since her parents had died when she was 4. This woman, who had been a friend of her mother's, had taken care of her ever since and was the only friend she'd ever had. When Kuroka and Ingvald arrived, well, a fight broke out between Juvia and Kuroka. Issei thought maybe it was because water and cats don't get along. He discovered that she was an Amana, rain woman, and that her emotions determined the weather, particularly the rain. She also controlled water, and her body could transform into water. They got along well, and suddenly, Juvia started calling him Ai-sama, which didn't bother him since Ravel called him that a lot, and he was used to it. They spent time like this until it was time to return to the dorms. Mocha and Kurumu appeared, as they felt very ashamed of having distrusted Issei so much. When Issei told Ingvild and Kuroka what happened, they were annoyed with the rabbit dog and a little with both girls, but they put it aside and went to sleep, having met a new friend. The Kitabashi. -7:45 a.m. Issei was walking alongside Kuroka, Ingvild and his new companion, Juvia, who was tightly attached to Issei, much to Kuroka's annoyance. "Hey. Let Naya walk in peace," Kuroka told Juvia, who stuck her tongue out at her like a little girl. "No, Juvia won't leave Ai-sama with you, love rival," Juvia said to Kuroka, who got annoyed and put on a typical annoyed expression that you only see in One Piece. Juvia looked at Ingvild, who also looked at her. "Even though Juvia likes you, Juvia won't take her eyes off you, Ingvild-san," the blue-haired girl declared, making Ingvild sweat beads. "Why yes, whatever you say, Juvia-san," Ingvild said. Just then, two girls arrived, and Issei was still annoyed with them. Well, not annoyed, but that didn't change the fact that he ignored them for quite a while. "Good morning," Mocha and Kurumu greeted. Kuroka, Ingvild, and Juvia looked at them. "Good morning," said Kuroka and Ingvild. Juvia returned the greeting out of courtesy, but she only knew those two from afar. "Sorry girls, I have things to do. I'll go ahead. See you later, Juvia-chan too," Issei said, ignoring Mocha and Kurumu, who felt bad about it. Juvia let Issei go since they would have time later, leaving the trio with the duo. Strange, but you get the picture. "Well, this is Juvia Loxer, she's in room A, and now she's our new friend," Ingvild said, introducing Juvia, who bowed with a flat face. "Nice to meet you, I'm Juvia Loxer," the blue-haired girl introduced herself stoically, causing Ingvild and Kuroka to sweat drop. Mocha and Kurumu introduced themselves to her as well. With Issei. He was walking peacefully to class when he was pulled into an empty classroom by a strong hand. Esdeath pinned him against a wall and kissed him passionately. Issei was taken aback by the Yuki-ana's kiss, but he quickly responded, taking control and switching positions, so that he was now the one pinning her against the wall. It was a kiss that demonstrated love and passion between them. They spent 5 minutes together, their tongues dancing passionately, until they ran out of breath and had to separate. A thin strand of saliva connected their mouths, and they rested their foreheads together, gazing into each other's eyes and smiling softly. "Wow, Esdeath, you're very bold, bringing your student into an empty classroom so early, haha," Issei said, smiling at the woman who smiled back. "I wanted one of your kisses, love. Can't I have a kiss from my boyfriend?" she asked, looking at Issei, who gave her a soft kiss on the lips. "Whenever you want, you'll always have a kiss, of course making sure the other students don't see us, but when no one is watching you can have as many kisses as you want," Issei said to Esdeath, who smiled and rested her head on the chestnut-haired boy's chest. Issei hugged her around the waist. "You're the only one who warms my frozen heart, and that makes me very happy," Esdeath said, still with her head on the chestnut-haired man's chest. "Haha, thanks for saying that, Esdeath," Issei said, hugging the woman. They stayed like that for a few minutes until they decided it was time to get on with their day's activities. They shared another kiss and said goodbye to each other. Issei encountered the girls but continued to walk past Kurumu and Mocha. Perhaps this would teach them not to distrust him again. Here I leave aside that part of the manga where Jin calls Tsukyun and does something really stupid to him. Here instead, Photoshop will help Jin with his evil plans. The Kitabashi X2. Night. Academy rooftop. Classes and club activities passed, and Jin and Horo announced their homework assignment. Gather information on a peeping Tom who'd been stealing underwear and spying on the girls while they changed. Issei had a strong suspicion about this. Oh, and Juvia joined the club, much to Kuroka's annoyance, who spent her time arguing with Juvia. Tama liked the blue-haired girl, and the two quickly became friends. I mean, mermaid plus water woman equals friends XD. Issei still gave them the silent treatment for bothering Kurumu and Mocha, though it affected Mocha more since she felt bad for distrusting him so much. They were divided into groups to search for the pesky peeping Tom. Issei, Juvia, obviously, and Ingvild. Horo, Tamao, and Kuroka. Mocha and Kurumu went together, leaving only the idiot Janae, who was thinking about how to make Mocha his. In short, they found little information and then went to rest. After arriving at the dorm, Mocha decided to go out for some fresh air and went to the academy's rooftop. That night it was a full moon and somewhat cloudy. Mocha let out a sad sigh upon learning that Issei was upset with her and Kurumu. "Because I didn't trust him, he's never been like that with me, and I reacted as if he really was a true pervert," Mocha said to herself. "He's a pervert, girl, but only with his girls, he's a restrained pervert." Oh, so here you were, Mocha-san. It was Janae's voice arriving on the rooftop. It's already night, look at the beautiful moon tonight, Jin said, looking at the full moon. Jin-senpai, Mocha said, looking at the boy who smiled. You know what? Apparently, Issei-kun was caught spying on the girls' locker room, Jin said, pulling a photograph from his jacket. Look, this picture has been circulating, he said, handing it to Mocha, who looked at it. Mocha didn't say anything as she stared at the photo. She couldn't believe it. The month she spent with Issei, he never acted like this. She was confused. Don't say anything about the photo to Issei-kun. It's pathetic. You should forget about a guy like him, he said, putting his left arm around Mocha's shoulders. She looked at him. Let me comfort you tonight, Jin said, moving closer to Mocha's face, but she quickly pushed him away. No, leave me alone. Mocha screamed in terror. What are you doing, Jin-senpai? She demanded, agitated. Janae just smiled. What do I do? Well, hug you tenderly, that's what I do, said Janae, approaching Mocha, who moved away from him. No, you were hexily harassing me, that's what you were doing. Mocha shouted, moving further away from Janae. Janae approached Mocha again, still smiling. It's a full moon tonight, isn't it? Oh, full moon nights fill me with a feeling of power, and sometimes I lose control, Janae said, trying to kiss Mocha, who resisted by pushing him away. Just surrender to it. When I lose control, my feelings drive me crazy, Janae said. No. Leave me alone. Mocha shouted, backing away from Janae. Besides, I don't believe a word of this picture. I know Ice isn't like that. You'd better go. I trust Ice more than this photo, Mocha declared. Janae saw her and smiled. Really? How admirable. I'm totally in love with you, Akashia Mocha, but didn't I tell you that on nights of a full moon my self-control weakens, Janae said, beginning to change form and releasing a great force. When my emotions excite me so much I suddenly lose control of myself, Janae said, completely changing his form. Senpai? Mocha asked, impressed by what was happening. Then said Jin, completely changed but shrouded in darkness, I'll make you my wife by force, Akashia Mocha. Roared the transformed Jin. Hi. Mocha screamed when she saw Jin lunge at her, but… Boom. Janae received a punch that, if repeated in slow motion, would show his entire face literally deforming for a short period of time. Janae flew against the wall of the entrance to the rooftop. I knew something was wrong with you, Baka-senpai, and look what I found. Good thing I arrived on time, thanks Kurumu-chan, said a newly arrived Issei with Kurumu in her succubus form flying near him. You're welcome, Ice-kun, said Kurumu, already on the ground. Ice? Asked Mocha. Issei saw her and decided to approach. Are you alright, Mocha-chan? Did this idiot do anything to you? Issei asked, worried about the vampire, who shook her head. Ice, I'm so sorry I didn't trust you, I really am, Mocha said, but Issei shook his head. Nah, that doesn't matter, just don't do it again. It makes me uncomfortable when a friend distrusts me, but putting that aside, Issei said to Mocha, then looked at a stunned Janae getting back up. No wonder Kuroka dislikes you. You're a mangy dog. Your sister is very different from you. Horo-senpai is nicer than you, Issei said. Janae regained his composure and glared at Issei. You bastard. How dare you hit me? You'll see when I'm done with you. First, I'll make Mocha my wife, and then I'll go after all your little friends, hahaha. You won't be able to stop me. The werewolf roared madly under the influence of the moon. Issei knew this, but it didn't stop him from being angered by what he said. He'd break a few bones for it. Well, you flea-ridden fourth-rate dog, I don't work in animal control or whisper a dog, but I'll teach you how to be gentle the old-fashioned way, Issei said seriously, cracking his knuckles. Kurumu and Mocha watched this with concern. Ice-kun, you can't, it's too dangerous. The wolves are equal in power to the vampires. Please, I don't want them to hurt you, Kurumu said, very worried about Issei. Ice is right, I don't want you to get hurt because of me, Mocha said worriedly. Issei tapped them both on the forehead, and they clutched the spot where they'd been hit. I like that you're worried about me, but that lack of trust in me hurts, you know. But still, thank you for your concern, but you should be worried about the dog more than me, Issei said, gently stroking both of their heads, blushing. Well, since the problem is with Mocha, shouldn't she come out? Issei asked Mocha while holding the rosary in his hands. Mocha looked at him and nodded. Issei took out the rosary and began. A strong energy that made Kurumu and Janae feel chills was felt, and soon inner Mocha was present before Issei. Hello, it's been a while, hasn't it? Issei said, smiling at inner Mocha, who smiled back. Yes, it's been a while, Ice-kun. Now we're dealing with this guy. Mocha asked, looking at Janae, who was mesmerized by her new appearance. Issei nodded. With you, this will be very easy, Mocha declared. The true Mocha-san's true form, even after changing, you're still beautiful, Akashia Mocha. Janae said, admiring Mocha. I don't care that you're a vampire or that idiot is in my way, I'll defeat you and make you mine. Janae roared powerfully, launching himself at Issei and Mocha. Issei and Mocha saw him disappear quickly. Well, Mocha didn't see him, but Issei did, since Kibba was far faster than him. Who are you fighting? Ahaha, well, a vampire's strength is power, our werewolf's strength is speed. Today the full moon shines bright, now I'm envying. Janae didn't finish because he was sent flying by a punch from Issei, who appeared behind him as he spoke. Blah blah and more blah, stop talking and fight, you stupid animal. Issei said. Janae straightened up, wincing in pain from the punch Issei had landed on his back. Damn it. How the hell could you get behind me? The werewolf demanded. Just like her, Issei said, crossing his arms and pointing behind him. Huh? Was all Janae managed to say before feeling a strong grip on his shoulder. When he looked to see who it was, he nearly shit himself as an annoying Mocha stood behind him, glaring at him with a "you're so screwed" expression. He thought only one thing. I'm screwed. Yes, he was screwed. And to top it all off, the full moon was obscured by a mass of clouds. Damn it, now my true powers are weakened. The moon's been covered by clouds. Janae said, terrified, staring at the sky. Do you think someone who loses their powers like that can be with me? You'd better recognize your place. The only one who proves himself worthy is Issei, Mocha said, pondering the last part. What happened next? A neck-breaking kick sent the wolf flying off the rooftop. Well, that was a pretty low ending, haha, Issei said. Kurumu chuckled. Mocha approached until she was standing in front of Issei. What's wrong, Mocha-chan? Issei asked Mocha, who smiled at him and did something that made Kurumu jealous. That's not fair. Kurumu shouted. What happened? Well, simple, inner Mocha grabbed Issei's cheeks and kissed him. This took Issei by surprise, since he didn't expect Mocha to kiss him. The kiss lasted 5 minutes, which Issei reciprocated by wrapping his arms around Mocha's waist. She ran her hands along Issei's neck. Kurumu was furious. Mocha took the lead, and even though she wasn't the person he usually hung out with, she was still Mocha. They separated, and Mocha looked into Issei's eyes, smiling at the brunette. Whoa, and why was that? Issei asked. Yufufu, it's a secret, Issei-kun. Take care of her for now, until we meet again. Inner Mocha said goodbye, placing the rosary back in its place and reverting to her outer self, who collapsed unconscious into Issei's arms. Issei sighed and looked at Kurumu, who had a jealous expression. He smiled ironically. He would have to spend time with her to avoid any more jealous situations. Come on, Kurumu-chan, I'll make it up to you later for letting me know about this, so let's go, said Issei, cheering up the succubus who nodded happily. The next day. -7 a.m. Extra. Extra. Extra from the journalism club. Shouted a large group of girls and a boy, with Vice President Horo Morioka distributing the club's newspapers. Ah, who would have thought this would be our first job as club members? Issei said, standing next to Shizuka, who was reading the newspaper with a disappointed expression. The headline read, Issei Hyodou innocent. The real culprit behind being the Academy's peeping Tom was none other than Morioka Janae from second year, class 1. Don't worry, Shizuka-sensei, the Inu-senpai will get what's coming to him from them, Issei said, pointing at Janae running away from a large group of girls. Shizuka sighed and looked at Issei. I hope she does her job properly. Horo-chan can't be running the club all by herself, Shizuka said, watching Horo, who, along with Kuroka and Tamao, was surrounded by several boys. Being the most beautiful student certainly helped. Meanwhile, Ingvald, Juvia, Mocha and Kurumu were also surrounded, with Juvia giving the boys a look that said, I'm not interested in any of you. Well, see you in class, Shizuka, I have to help, Issei said to Shizuka, who nodded and continued on her way to the teacher's lounge. I saw Juvia is being bothered by these boys, Juvia said, throwing herself at Issei to hug him. Issei looked at her smiling. He liked this girl. Now Juvia-chan, let's continue delivering newspapers, Issei said for Juvia to accompany him. Excuse me, a female voice called to Issei. Issei turned to see who it was, finding a beautiful woman with tan skin, purple hair tied in a ponytail, golden eyes, and wearing a black sleeveless shirt and white pants. She was beautiful. You're Hyodou, Issei, right? The woman asked the brunette. Yaokai, Issei thought as he sensed her energy. Yes, that's me. How can I help? Issei asked the woman. Juvia, despite not liking a girl approaching Issei, let it go and decided to just observe. My name is Uruchi Shimin, and I have something important to talk to you about, if you'll allow me some of your time, of course, the brunette said to Issei. That's fine, but could it be after class? After this we have to go to the classroom, we can meet somewhere nearby, Issei offered. The woman looked at him and smiled. Of course, there's no problem, after all there's plenty of time. Well, I'll leave you now, I have to go to the teacher's office, said Uruchi. Is she a teacher here? Issei asked. I'll be the physical education teacher's assistant, so more or less, see you later Hyodou Issei, the woman said, leaving the place. Issei watched her go. Who could she be? Issei thought. Sama? Juvia asked, drawing Issei's attention. Oh yes, let's go with the others Juvia-chan said Issei, followed by Juvia. Teacher's lounge. Shinobu was looking at the photo she had in her earring, she looked at it fondly as it showed her in her child form next to a young brunette, both smiling, she put on her necklace and looked out the window where Issei and company were delivering their newspapers. Ice-kun, the blonde thought melancholically, noticed by Esdeath who approached her. Is everything alright, Shinobu? You seem a little sad, Esdeath said. Shinobu didn't answer and Esdeath looked out the window, spotting Issei and his friends. It can't be, does Hyodou-kun have anything to do with this? Do you know him? Esdeath asked and Shinobu looked at her. Yes, but I don't want to talk about it, Esdeath Shinobu said and Esdeath nodded. Alright, but you can tell me about it whenever you want. We're friends, after all, Esdeath said and the 500-year-old vampire nodded. All of this was observed by Morrigan, who watched the interaction between the two with interest. Issei now had a new friend, started the journalism club in a not-so-good way, defeated a dog alongside Mocha, and met a woman who was clearly a yaokai. These days for Issei were still going on. Somewhere in the academy. In a place within the academy grounds, a very large female figure could be seen. She was much larger than normal, wearing the academy uniform but without the green vest, only the long-sleeved shirt and the long skirt. Despite trying to hide it, she had a very voluptuous body, too voluptuous, with long black hair that almost covered her beautiful face, white skin, and very beautiful ruby red eyes. She was beautiful. Mom said I should talk to him, but I'm so embarrassed, the girl said to herself as she walked toward the academy. She always walked around the perimeter before class. I don't know why mom wants that, but maybe I'll try talking to him anyway, she added, now close to one of the academy's many doors. I'd better think of something else besides him, she said to herself as she headed to class. This tall girl, who could be mistaken for a woman, was a first-year student, believe it or not, but she was in a different section. Who was she? We'll see about that another time. End of chapter 5. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. -2 weeks later. Director's office. 2 weeks had passed since what happened with Jin, now Issei was at the Yaokai Academy's administration office, as he would speak for the first time with Tomei Mikagami, the academy's director, who Yusaka had told him about the fairy tale information. I'm happy to finally meet the current Sekiryuutei, Hyodou Issei, in person said Mikagami, who was sitting at his desk. The pleasure is all mine. It's not every day you meet one of the 3 Dark Lords, Issei said, sitting down in the chair in front of the man's desk. You know about us? That's interesting said Mikagami. Well, Yusaka told me about you, but only that you were known among the Yaokai legends, Issei said to the man. Haha, well, putting that aside, I called you to explain the problem with fairy tale, Mikagami said seriously. Well, from what little I've discovered about them, they have some members among the students, all to recruit more members into their organization. Although their true objectives are greater than I think, that's all I've discovered so far. But I do have people working on it, Mikagami told Issei, who thought about it. So that's how things stand. They're trying to recruit more people, regardless of whether they're still students. Only idiots would get involved in something serious. But I'll try to find out who's involved, Issei said to Mikagami. I'd appreciate any information you have so we know what we're up against. I don't want to hear about some crazy new kind of chaos brigade or Clipeth coming up with something, Issei said, and Mikagami smiled slightly. Don't worry, I'll keep you informed of everything. I imagine you're going to check your midterm exam grades, right? Mikagami asked, to which Issei nodded. Well, go ahead, I won't keep you any longer, Mikagami said. Yes, and see you later. It was a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Tomei, said Issei. Call me Mikagami, kid, there's no need for formalities Mikagami said. Only if you call me Ice, said the chestnut-haired man. Of course, no problem, Ice-kun the man said. Well, see you later Mikagami, Issei said, leaving the principal alone. So Issei Hyodou, haha. Yusaka Haim will have a good husband in the future said Mikagami. Issei. The chestnut-haired boy headed towards the notice board to see how he had done on that exam. He had done well since it was the same one he had received in his first year at Kuo, so it wasn't difficult. However, he had to go unnoticed, and so he preferred to be among the top 30. Well, let's see what happened with that exam, Issei said, walking towards the bulletin board. Don't worry, I'm sure you had a good time, after all you've been through it before, Drake said. You're right Drake, it would be stupid to get a bad grade on something you've already done before, Issei said, and Drake smiled at that. Ai-san. Ingvild called, accompanied by Kuroka. The black-haired girl lunged at Issei, who caught her by the waist to prevent her from falling. You're going to check your exam grade, right? The purple-haired girl asked. Yes, that's what I was getting at, said Issei, still hugging his purring kitten clothes, and Issei smiled. Comfortable, Kuroka? Issei asked, and she rubbed her face against the chestnut-haired boy's chest. More than you can imagine, Ice Naya, she replied with a smile. Well, let's go, Mocha-san must be there already, said Ingvild, a little jealous that Kuroka was hugging her king. Yes, let's go, said the chestnut-haired man, and so the trio walked to where the notice board was located. Minutes later. Isama. Was the voice of a cheerful Juvia who ran to where Issei was to hug him. Isama, it's so good that you're here, Juvia was worried because you hadn't come, said the blue-haired girl to Issei who smiled at that and stroked her head. Haha, I'm glad to know you care about me Juvia, but I was just in the principal's office because he wanted to tell me something, nothing more than that, Issei said to the water girl. Oh, that's good, Isama. Juvia wouldn't know what to do without you, she said. Ah, hello Ingvild-san, love rival senpai, the blue-haired girl greeted both of them, who had a drop of sweat on their faces, since she had just noticed them. Yes, hello, they both said. The four of them went to check their grades. When they arrived, they saw many students looking at the posters with their exam scores. Among the crowd, they spotted Mocha looking at her grades, so they decided to approach the pink-haired girl. Hello Mocha-chan, Issei greeted the pink-haired girl, who smiled upon seeing him. Ice, how are you? She greeted with a smile, then looked at the girls and smiled back. How are you girls too? She asked kindly. Well, thank you for asking, Mocha-san, Ingvild said. Good, Kuroka replied. Well, Juvia is fine since she's close to Isama, Juvia replied, then looked seriously at Mocha. Don't think Juvia doesn't have her eye on you. You're another one of Juvia's love rivals, she said seriously, hugging Issei's left arm. He smiled nervously. To say all the boys were jealous was an understatement, but they couldn't do anything. Mocha smiled tensely, a bead of jealousy creeping in as she saw her so close to Issei. Okay, putting that aside Issei said, stepping back slightly from Juvia. Let's check our grades. Everyone except Kuroka, who had already seen hers with her two enemies, approached to look at the results. Issei saw that he was in the top 10. Damn, I was hoping for a top 30 or higher, not this next time I'll try to do too well on the exam, Issei thought. Wow, Ice, that's phenomenal. You finished 3 places higher than me. Mocha praised Issei, who had finished in 13th place. You should teach me your study method sometime, she said, blushing slightly at the thought of spending time alone with Issei. It's not that bad, haha. I can't say that first-year classes are easy for me since I've been there before, the brunette said in thought. Ingvild was looking at her grades and saw that she came in 11th and Juvia came in 15th. Isama is great, no need to remind him, love rival, Juvia said, hugging Issei's left arm. He just smiled nervously, which annoyed Mocha, and Ingvild shook her head at. Oh, congratulations on your place, Ingvild-san, she said to her friend and rival, according to her. Ingvild nodded, a bead of sweat trickling down the back of her head. You better stay away from Ice Naya, you wet girl, Kuroka said angrily, wanting to pull Juvia away from Issei, but the blue-haired girl wouldn't give in. No, 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 Juvia will not stray from her Isama, Juvia said, much to the annoyance of Kuroka and Mocha. Ingvild just smiled ironically at that. The group went about their business while in the distance, behind a pillar, a small girl dressed as a witch watched the group, more specifically Issei and Mocha. Just to clarify, to avoid any issues, she'll be 15 years old instead of 11, because well think of her as Kaneko, who's the normal age but just short. She was looking at Issei with dreamy eyes, she is Yukari Sendo from class 2A, a true genius girl since she came in first place in the entire school in the midterm exams. Congratulations Yukari-san, as expected of you, the child genius, you came in first place again, said a guy with a face that said, I'm really evil, but which won't be important for the rest of the story in general. He approached along with his 2 assistants and looked at Yukari with a mean face, but don't get too cocky, to me you're nothing more than a stupid brat, it's that simple, said the subnormal bad guy to Yukari. Delegate. Little Yukari said to the guy. Besides, what's with that dress? It totally defies school rules he said, pushing Yukari. I hate those who stand out, said the guy who's going to get hit no spoilers. Hi. Please stop. Yukari cried out in pain. Everyone saw this and did nothing to intervene, but the man hadn't counted on someone who heard everything thanks to her enhanced senses. As class representative, your mere presence disgusts me, the guy said to Yukari. After all, your true form is a witch, isn't it? What a shame, it makes me nauseous to think that you're in the same class as me, the guy said, making Yukari feel bad. And I feel like slamming your face into the ground when I see you intimidating someone who's clearly younger than you, said a voice behind the man, who was annoyed and wanted to see who the idiot was who spoke bad choice. Okay, who was the imbecile arg? He didn't finish because a punch to his stomach silenced him. When he saw who it was, he was scared because it was Issei himself who sent that idiot Zaisu to the hospital. "Hi Hyodou," the delegate said in pain. "So, you like bothering people, huh? Why don't you pick on someone your own size?" Issei said to the idiot who just got up in pain. "DCH, let's go guys," the idiot said to his friends, then looked at Yukari. "Remember this, Yukari," he said angrily as he left, holding the area affected by the blow. After they left, the crowd dispersed as they didn't want any trouble with Issei. Yukari was amazed because she had in front of her the people she wanted to meet since Mocha, Ingvald, Kuroka, and Juvia had gone with Issei. "Oh, thank you so much, you saved me. My name is Yukari Sendo, and I'm from class 2A, the girl introduced herself. "Oh, so you're the child genius. They say you're impressive, and that outfit you're wearing makes you look cute," said Issei, making the little girl blush as she grabbed her cheeks. It's not like I'm cute haha," she said nervously, blushing at being complimented by those she wanted to get to know. "I think you're amazing, Issei-san, you're handsome," Yukari said. "You know, really, Yukari said, blushing and looking down, which surprised the group completely. "I love you both," she said, jumping up and hugging whoever was closest to Issei, who caught her. "Huh?" the girls exclaimed when they saw Yukari hug Issei tightly. "Every time I saw you both in the academy hallways, I fell a little more in love with each of you, and now that you, Issei-san, have come to help me, my heart has finally made up its mind," said the little witch lowly, still hugging Issei and looking into his eyes. "Please, Issei-san, go out with me," she said to the brunette, who remained silent. Yukari saw this and decided to speak again. "Is it really so bad to go out with someone like me?" she asked, making a scolded face, which didn't work on Issei, who quickly brought her down. "I'd go out with you but as friends, nothing more," Issei said, somewhat uncomfortable with the situation. "Yai. I'm so happy," Yukari declared, climbing onto Issei's back. This clearly annoyed the girls, but Issei gave them a look that said, "Let her be," and they reluctantly agreed. "Haha, you're so lucky, mate, now the next one would be a mysterious lowly haha." Drake mocked the things that happened to his partner. "Oh, shut up Drake," Issei said. "I'm Skip." They were all walking through the academy hallways, with Issei carrying a lowly backpack, Yukari smiling happily while being watched by some jealous girls who wanted her to stay away from Issei. "Enough," said an annoyed Juvia, pointing at Yukari who looked at her. "Juvia wants you to leave Ai-sama alone once and for all," said the water woman angrily. "Please, don't get in our way," Yukari said, already on the ground, facing Juvia. "Even if you're considered one of the girls with the best grades, that doesn't give you the right to interfere between my love and Issei-san," the lowly said, then looked at Juvia's breasts. "Besides, if he stays with you," she said, pointing at Juvia, then at Kuroka, and you then at Ingvald, and you then finally pointing at Mocha, "and that succubus in you, Akashia Mocha-san, will distract my beloved Issei-san with those enormous cow breasts you have," the lowly declared, angering the girls. Ingvald covered her breasts as Issei looked at her and winked, making the purple-haired girl blush, who smiled when no one saw her. The first to step forward was Kuroka, who saw the lowly crossing her arms below her chest, making them more noticeable, and Issei saw that and was tempted to touch them maybe later he thought. "Naya? You're saying Naya will get distracted by my breasts and the girls? Well, let me tell you something, Patanko-chan," Kuroka said, making a colossal rock with the word Patanko on it fall on the lowly's imaginary head. Naya loves breasts, and the bigger the better. I know because he loves mine and Ingvald Naya's. He's even said Mocha Kai's and Juvia Kai's are great. He even likes that succubus's. I think they'd be a great incentive rather than a distraction for him, Naya. So don't talk nonsense, little Naya," Kuroka said, poking the annoying lowly's chest with a finger. The girls, Juvia and Mocha 9, blushed at what the dark-haired girl said and looked at Issei, blushing. "Now I know that Ai-sama desires Juvia, so Juvia will do what is necessary to make him mine," Juvia said. "He likes my breasts, Ai-san, maybe I should know, that's too embarrassing, but maybe," the pink-haired girl thought, glancing sideways at Issei. "Don't overthink it, just do it or I'll do it next time I go out," her inner self said in her mind, making the outer Mocha blush and annoyed. Doesn't matter if I have smaller breasts than you. I love Issei-san, and I'll do everything I can to show my love for him using magic as a means," Yukari said, raising her magic wand ready to attack. "Take this. Magic wand," the lowly said, waving her wand and making several yellow pots appear, which the girls simply dodged. "Ah, you thought that was going to work, Naya," Kuroka mocked. "Hey, stop doing that," Mocha said, annoyed. "Yes, you should stop doing that, it's very annoying," said Ingvald, who moved unseen beside Issei. "Ugh. Enough. I can't stand them," the lowly said angrily, then hugged Issei. "I'm leaving now, Issei-san. See you later," she said with a cute smile, then looked at the girls and stuck her tongue out at them. "Goodbye, you silly cows," she said, running off to her classroom. Ugh, that impertinent brat. Kuroka said, revealing her Nekomata features. Issei sighed and hugged the raven-haired girl from behind. She smiled and calmed down. Issei stroked her ears, eliciting a cute purr. Brrr, Ice Naya Kuroka murmured after Issei's caresses. Leave that, Kuro-chan, Issei said, still hugging Kuroka, much to the girl's jealousy. She just doesn't know how to get along with people, Issei said. Are you going to defend her, Ai-sama? Juvia asked. I'm not defending her from anything, Juvia-chan, Issei said, leaving Kuroka, much to her annoyance. Did you see what Ai-san did? He wanted to hurt us, Mocha said. I know, but I think she needs help, Issei said, watching where Yukari had gone. Help? Ingvild asked. Yes, I feel like she's all alone here, Issei said. Just then, the bell rang, signaling the start of class. Well, we have to go to class, Issei said, and everyone nodded. Before leaving, Juvia hugged her Ai-sama to recharge his energy, and when she left, without Mocha noticing, Kuroka kissed Issei, which he returned. Ah, I needed this, see you later Ice Naya said Kuroka as she ran off to her classroom on the third floor. Hyodou-kun spoke the voice of one of the teachers. Yes, Shinobu-sensei. Issei said to the blonde vampire with red eyes, who looked at him. I need you to follow me because I have something to talk to you about, said the blonde woman. But I'm going to class right now, Issei said. Don't worry, I already spoke with Shizuka-sensei, and she allowed it, Shinobu said, to which Issei nodded and looked at Ingvild and Mocha. Girls, go to the classroom, I'll see you in the next class, Issei said, and they nodded and headed off to class. Okay, Shinobu-sensei, let's go, Issei said. Yes, follow me to my office, the woman said, and Issei nodded to follow her. Shinobu's office. Please take a seat, the woman said to the chestnut-haired man, who sat in the chair in front of the chestnut-haired man's desk. The office was like any other. A desk, some chairs, some filing cabinets, books, papers, and so on. So will you tell me what you need me for? Issei asked. The woman let out a sigh. Don't you recognize me yet? She asked, standing at the window overlooking the school entrance. Issei was surprised by the question. Excuse me, but I don't understand what you mean, Issei said. Ah, so you don't recognize me, Hai-kun. The woman said, calling the brunette in a different way, who looked at her strangely. Wait, Ai-kun. Issei said, trying to remember how many people had called him that in his entire life, but only one name came to mind. Impossible it can't be, he said, his eyes widening. He knew his teacher's face seemed familiar. Issei looked at the woman who was staring directly into his eyes, those red eyes that attracted him. You can't be her, you can't be Lola, Issei said, looking at the woman who smiled bitterly. Yes, I am Ai-kun, I am said the woman who suddenly changed shape before Issei's eyes. She was covered by a cloak of darkness with reddish sparkles, her size decreasing until she was smaller than him, and what she revealed left him astonished. And no, it can't be Lola, is that you? Said Issei, approaching the little girl who was crying with joy at being remembered by Issei, her best friend and the love she had years ago. Yes, Ai-kun it's me Shinobu said, wiping away her tears and hugging Issei, who returned the embrace. The hug was long and comforting, a reunion that wasn't quite a reunion, but for them it was. They hugged each other tightly, unwilling to let go. Issei was overjoyed to be reunited with an old friend after all these years. You have no idea how happy it makes me to see you again, no, Shinobu, Issei said, hugging the loli-like woman. And I'm very happy too, Ai-kun. You don't know how happy I was to hear about you, to know that you've become so strong and well known, that you've grown so well. I'm glad to hear about you, especially when I found out that you'd be at the same academy where I'm teaching, said Shinobu, still hugging the brunette. If you knew about me, why didn't you contact me? I would have liked to hear from you. I felt sad when I found out you left without saying goodbye. I cried when I found out. You're mean, Shinobu, Issei said, slowly pulling away from the blonde, who transformed into a more adult form. Wow, you look beautiful. But no matter how you look, to me you'll always be beautiful, Issei said, placing his hand on the blonde's cheek in her younger form. You say such things, Ai-kun, Shinobu said, blushing, and smiled at Issei. The truth and nothing but the truth, Shinobu, Issei said to the vampire. They both stood up and decided to sit together near the wall. So tell me, why did you leave Kuo, Shinobu? Issei asked, to which the blonde's expression changed to a serious one. Judging by your expression, I gather it wasn't a pleasant experience, Issei said. And it's not Ai-kun back then I was escaping, Shinobu said, surprising Issei. Escaping? Escaping from what? Issei asked. Let me tell you so you understand better, Ai-kun, she said, settling in close to the chestnut-haired boy and resting her head on his shoulder. Ah, it feels so warm, she thought, closing her eyes. A year before I met you, I was in Europe, more specifically in France. I like to travel the world because, despite looking younger, I'm about 900 years old, though I don't really remember. Back then, I met two rather peculiar vampires. One was Dracula, formerly known as Vlad Tepes, and the other was Carmilla. But putting that aside, the three of us were the strongest until they appeared, she said, frowning. Them? Issei asked. The group of monster hunters, three of them managed to mortally wound me, taking my arms and legs with them. But of course, I was still strong, and I killed them one by one. I left violence behind a long time ago, and thanks to some contacts, I can get fresh blood without hurting anyone. But something happened that hurt me even more. It was when I arrived here in Japan. I was visiting, since I hadn't been to Japan since the Edo period, she said, and Issei listened attentively. But it was my mistake to think they would leave me alone. After making it clear that I was visiting the gods in Shinto, I was visiting Tokyo when a man cornered me and ripped out my heart. Apparently, he was a rogue demon. He was strong, so with what little energy I had, I decided that escape was the best option. So I got on the first train I found heading out of Tokyo and escaped, Shinobu said. You do have your heart, right? Because if not, I'll ask Surzich Nyasin to help me, Issei began, only to be silenced by a smiling Shinobu's finger. Don't worry, I'm fine, but I'm glad you're worried about me, he said, smiling. Issei scratched the back of his head. But honestly, I'm surprised you've met so many girls since I left you. You're quite the ladies' man, aren't you, Icon? She said, a hint of jealousy in her voice, which made Issei laugh nervously. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, as I was saying, after escaping, I ended up in Kuo. I wandered around the city until I ran into whoever was looking after it at the time, someone from the Gremory family. I explained that I wasn't there to cause any trouble and that Zudikus owed me a favor and they let me stay in the city because of that, the vampire told the brown-haired boy, who was surprised to learn that she knew his father-in-law. I looked for a place to settle down for the time being until I found a house where I could stay, and that's where I met you. You can't imagine how happy I felt after so many years, remembering my childhood and having a friend who, despite being a child, treated me as an equal and not as something delicate. My life when I was human was never normal, since I was treated like I was on a pedestal, and I never liked that. No one treated me like a normal person until I met you, even though I was anything but. Meeting you was refreshing, and I liked it, although knowing that unpleasant woman she was always hanging around when I wasn't there, I never really liked her, she said, annoyed, remembering a certain woman who always played with Issei when he wasn't around. Disgusting woman. Issei said, to which she gave him a strange look. Don't you remember that yokai who used to come see you when your parents went out and left you with that unpleasant babysitter? He said to Issei. Wait. The only woman I remember was Wait, she was a yokai. Issei exclaimed, recalling a beautiful tall woman with long black hair who used to visit him when he was left in the care of that babysitter, who was glued to her phone almost all day. Shinobu nodded, and Issei couldn't believe that he'd been in contact with the supernatural since he was little. Imagine it's Issei as a child. She's one of those called Hachishaki-sama, although she was supposed to kill you she never did, strange, but maybe Drake has something to do with it, said the vampire, and Issei looked at his left arm for answers until Drake's gem appeared. Did you have anything to do with it, friend? Issei asked, to which Drake replied. I wasn't going to let my new host die like that, so when you were asleep and she was about to attack you, I stopped her. I told her that if she tried anything against you, she should wish she'd never been born, and that I would hunt her and her entire species down until I eradicated them from existence. After that, I was just playing with you, although it seems strange to me, too, Drake told his companion, who nodded. Well, thanks, buddy. Although, if you guys don't know why he was spending time with me, something tells me I'll find out soon, Issei said. Meanwhile, in one of the first-grade classrooms, a tall girl with black hair sneezed. Bless you, Sachiko-san, Juvia said to the girl named Sachiko. Thank you, Juvia-chan, the dark-haired girl said to the blue-haired girl. You're welcome, the blue-haired girl said, smiling. Back with Issei and Shinobu. And how did you get your heart back? Issei asked. Well, knowing they wouldn't leave me alone until they killed me, I looked for a way to easily obtain my power and set a trap for them. I knew that staying close would get you and your family into trouble, so I left. I didn't like it, but if it meant knowing you'd be safe, it was a price I was willing to pay. The thing is, when I set the trap, I killed the one who held my heart and returned to Tokyo, where I met Mikagami, who offered me a job at his academy. I accepted the deal, and from there I learned everything that was happening to you, since that was my condition with him. To know that you were someone recognized throughout the supernatural world and that you helped stop Trihexa. You can't imagine how I felt knowing that my future husband was so important, although, even if you weren't, you'll always be important to me, Icon, the blonde said with a smile. Yes, haha wait, husband. Said Issei, surprised, looking at the vampire who blushed at that. Yes, you will be my husband, and I don't care what that Princess Gremory says, I met you before her, so I have more rights than her, Shinobu said, making Issei blush. Well, it's not that I mind, I mean, I like you too, and all that Issei said, cheering Shinobu up as she crawled in front of him to reach something on his desk, giving him a good view. Bye Michael, Issei said, wanting to look away, but failing. Ifufu, what's wrong Ai-kun, do you see something you like? She asked, approaching Issei and lying down on his chest. The brunette hugged her around the waist and pressed his forehead to hers. I like everything about you, Issei said, smiling. I know, she said, still smiling. They stayed like that together for a while, until Issei wanted to know something that was bothering him about a certain witch loli. Oh yeah, do you know anything about Sendo Yukari, like if she has any friends or anything? Issei asked, and Shinobu looked him in the eyes. Now that you mention it, that girl doesn't have any friends because apparently, due to her background as a witch, nobody looks at her favorably. You know how they're seen as humans, you know, yaokai, said Shinobu, changing into her adult self while still in Issei's arms, though not wearing her teacher's clothes. You like seeing me blush, but now you can't make me blush anymore, Issei said, kissing her forehead. Ooh, well, as I was saying, and so she told him how Yukari, despite all her ingenuity and everything, was ostracized by all her classmates and also bullied from time to time. This bothered Issei, and he knew he had to do something to stop it. She also told him about her other pranks that annoyed her classmates even more. Issei saw that he had to make her stop doing that and apologize to her classmates. Well, now that I've told you all that, do you want to go for a walk? I mean, you have permission and everything, Shinobu said. You won't have any problems with oh no, I remembered you can change form, Issei said, and she smiled and changed back into her 18-year-old form. Let's go, Ai-kun, she said, and Issei nodded with a smile. Time skip brought to you by Chibi Issei and Shinobu holding hands and strolling around the academy grounds. It was club time, and Issei and the girls were there. Jin didn't appear because, according to Horo, she had things to attend to. Issei was with Kuroka and Tamao, both of them on either side of him, staring at each other with lightning bolts shooting from their eyes. Kurumu was hugging him from behind, pressing her large breasts against his back while feeding him some cookies she had baked herself. All this was watched by a jealous Mocha, Ingvald, and Juvia. Horo watched this with some puzzlement but let it go. Hey you, get off ice Naya-sama, Kuroka, Juvia, and Tamao said to Kurumu, who stuck her tongue out at them. No, you two spend a lot of time with Ice Koi, so you'll just have to put up with it whether you like it or not, Kurumu said, hugging Issei tighter. The two girls continued arguing with Kurumu, and the brunette simply ignored it. Too many fights between Rias and Akeno before had taught him to ignore this kind of thing. Issei was thinking about what Shinobu had told him about Yukari. He never imagined she'd be discriminated against here just for being a witch, and also that she played so many pranks on her classmates, which is why no one could stand her. He was so lost in thought that he didn't hear Kurumu speaking to him until she pinched his cheek. Ouch, why did you do that, Kurumu-chan? Issei asked. HMPH, you're not paying attention to me, she said, and Issei smiled, stroking her head. Sorry, I was just thinking about something, Issei said. Something? Mocha asked. Ingvald and Kuroka saw Issei with Tamao and Horo, who were wondering what he was thinking. It's about Yukari-chan, Issei said. What? About that unbearable woman? Kurumu asked. Don't tell Juvia that you met that girl, Juvia said. Don't tell me he's already played a trick on you, Issei said. Yes, nobody in her classroom can stand her, Kurumu said. Yes, she makes a lot of tasteless jokes, Juvia said. Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about, Issei said, explaining what he had discovered about Yukari from Shinobu. The girls understood the situation. I must help her change that attitude she has with her classmates, because otherwise, she will be bullied and discriminated against, Issei said. You're right, Naya, Kuroka said. But how can we help her? Ingvald asked. First we should talk to her. I know she's smart enough to understand her situation and maybe change her attitude even a little, so I'll have to go out and find her, Issei said. I'll go with you, Ice, Mocha said. We can't leave Yukari-chan alone. I know what it feels like to be ostracized by everyone, Mocha said, remembering her past in the human world. I'm going too, Naya, I can't stand being in the same place with the dog and the fish, Naya, said Kuroka, clinging to Issei's arm, angry at Tamao Yahoro for what she said about them. Hey, you damn cat. They both shouted angrily. Alright, we're back now, we have to find Yukari-chan, Issei said, leaving with both girls and letting the rest finish the club activities. Meanwhile, with Yukari. The little witch was walking peacefully through the academy corridors when, upon turning a corner, she bumped into someone. Ouch, watch where you're going, idiot. Yukari complained. But you're the one who bumped into me, Yukari-san, how rude. Said the arrogant voice of Yukari's class representative, making her nervous. You're a damn disgrace to the academy, the bastard said contemptuously. The delegate, Yukari said nervously. You remember how I almost got beaten up by that damn Hyodou because of you, huh? The idiot said angrily, grabbing Yukari's arm tightly and hurting her. The idiot's yakai features were slowly becoming more apparent as a viperous tongue darted out of his mouth. I've been waiting for the moment to take you alone. He said, dragging Yukari out of the academy. Hiya. Let me go. Yukari screamed. Issei, Mocha y Kuroka. The three of them walked through the school hallways looking for the little witch. Where the hell did that little dwarf go? Kuroka asked. Okay, Kuro-chan, I'm already suddenly. Issei stopped talking because he heard a female scream. He asked. Ice, what's wrong? Mocha asked. Ice Naya, you suddenly stopped moving, Kuroka said. Something's wrong, come on, I heard a scream in that direction, said Issei, pointing to the forest where something terrible always happens. The two girls nodded and followed Issei to the place where some fried lizards would be cooked. But the future victims and Yukari. Hiya. Yukari screamed in pain as she was thrown against a tree. How disgusting, a witch is a repulsive existence, there's no need to have a girl like you in our class, said the older idiot, looking with his half-changed face at Yukari, before changing to a humanoid lizard. Why don't I rid the academy of your filthy presence? The lizard man spoke. Yukari tried to use her wand against the lizards, but the leader destroyed it with his jaws, leaving the little loli defenseless. She didn't know what to do, and only one person came to mind. Ai-san, please save me, she thought, frightened. Well, it's time to finish you off, brat, and what better way than by devouring you? Shouted the guy, opening his jaws to literally eat the loli, who closed her eyes in fear. But. Pew. The rock the size of a bowling ball hit the idiot on the head, and he felt the real. Well, just pain, since the real one was already coming. Stop. Mocha shouted, arriving with Kuroka and an annoyed Issei who had another stone ready to play the puzzle game literally. So, wasn't the punch to the face enough for you to understand? You damn lizards are a nuisance, Issei said, looking annoyed at the three who weren't afraid of him yet. I don't think they understand, Naya, they seem stupid, Kuroka said. PCH, it's you again, Hyodou. You caught us at a bad time, said the Iguana King, annoyed. Ai-san, Mocha-san, Kuroka-senpai please go away, they'll eat you, forget about me. Yukari shouted. Leave and let them eat you alive. No way. Don't talk nonsense. If you need help, just ask. After all, no one can take on the world alone. I know you've been alone, and that's why you think it's better to be alone, but it's not like that. You always need someone. I'm telling you this from experience. I used to have only a few friends, and now I have more. They support me, and I support them, Issei said, approaching Yukari. You say you love me, but the truth is you want someone to be kind to you for once. And wasn't I just joking around to get your attention? Very Naruto-esque, if you ask me. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, if you need someone, it won't just be me who's there for you. The girls will be too. Hell, even Jin-senpai would help you, despite being just like me before, Issei said, remembering his days as a secret spy in the girls' baths back in Kuo. So don't think you're alone. I know it's hard being alone. Mocha-chan suffered through that before, but like I said, you have us now, you have me, and I'm not going to leave you alone, Yukari-chan, Issei said, smiling at the little girl who looked at him in shock. Mocha and Kuroka smiled at that. Issei would always be there for his friends no matter what, he would always help them, and that's what they liked about him. Although Kuroka also loved something else he did to her at night. How insulting. How dare you ignore us? Yelled the walking bag, approaching Issei to supposedly hit him, but was stopped by Yukari who bit him. Arg. You stupid brat, what do you think you're doing? He yelled angrily, losing sight of Issei for a second, which would have been crucial to saving his own skin. Well, not really, but at least he had to give them false hope. The guy was going to hit him with a scratch poke attack, but he couldn't move his hand, or rather he couldn't move his hand literally, when he turned his gaze to see why that was he was scared to see Issei holding his arm with his hand applying pressure. Well, you were going to hit Yukari-chan, a big mistake if you ask me, Issei said dangerously, looking at the frightened lizard. He looked at Yukari with a gentle face. Yukari-chan, go with the girls, I'll take care of them, okay? Issei asked, and she nodded, going to where Mocha and Kuroka were watching. Don't you need help? Mocha asked Kuroka, who looked at the idiots and then at Mocha. No, he can, Naya, Kuroka said simply. Just then, Yukari approached the two of them, only to be confronted by Mocha. Yukari-chan, are you okay? Were you hurt? Mocha asked worriedly. No, but Ai-san, will he be alright? She asked, worried about Issei. Don't worry about the chibi, Naya will be fine, Kuroka said confidently. Mocha and Yukari simply believed the black cat since she and Ingvild knew Issei better than the two of them. But Issei and the Gars. Well, I suggest you return to the swamp you came from, but since I know you won't listen to reason, well who's first? Issei asked, seeing the two lackeys of the older idiot lunge at him. "You'll pay for this, you bastard," shouted both lackeys, launching themselves at Issei, who saw them coming in a very slow way. "I'd better finish this quickly," Issei thought, disappearing from everyone's side except Kuroka's. Graphic representation XD. "But what?" said the lizards, looking for Issei, a question that Mocha and Yukari also asked themselves, but they didn't react when Issei appeared behind both lizards. "Idiots. Behind you," shouted the older lizard, but it was too late. Fiu. Crash. Both were sent flying by 2 punches, breaking trees with their hard bodies, both fell awkwardly. "I'm impossible," he shouted in shock upon seeing his 2 subordinates defeated. "What's wrong?" Issei asked, looking at the leader of everything. Issei wouldn't use any powers or anything against him. He was a walking bag, so it wasn't a problem. But he would use something more effective. Intimidation. "Do you feel less without your little friends?" Issei asked, preparing the killer instinct that would only affect the idiot. "Shut up, you wretch," the idiot shouted, cornered, when he felt it, a very dense and dangerous presence that made him lose his breath. But what is this feeling?" he thought, scared, seeing Issei getting scared by what he saw. "What's wrong? Did the cat eat your tongue?" Issei asked, slowly approaching the paralyzed frightened lizardman. "What's wrong with her?" Yukari asked. "He suddenly stopped moving," Mocha said. In her rosary, inner Mocha saw everything with great awe, for she felt what it was and truly felt a chill. "You have a killer instinct, and a very strong one, Ice-kun. You have many more surprises in store for you," said inner Mocha. Issei approached until he was standing in front of the guy who was lying on the ground breathing with difficulty and looking in horror at Issei, who just stared at him. "You know, I'd kill you right now," Issei said, scaring the guy, "but I'm not very violent, so I'll let you go with a warning. Don't ever intimidate Yukari or anyone else again, because if I find out," Issei said, unleashing more of his murderous instinct, causing him to wet his pants. "I'll break all your bones, is that clear?" Issei asked, startling the man who didn't respond. "I said, is that clear?" Issei demanded even louder, and the man, now transformed back, nodded in fear. "Good, that's more like it. Now, good night," Issei said, delivering a blow that knocked out some of his teeth and left him unconscious. Mocha and Yukari were amazed by what had just happened while Kuroka smiled. "Okay, now Yukari-chan," Issei said calmly, addressing the lowly witch who looked him in the eyes, "let's go back, okay?" Issei said, extending his hand. "Why? Why are you helping me even though I behaved badly towards your other friends?" she asked, and Issei just smiled. "That's water under the bridge, the present is what you need to worry about. Besides, didn't I tell you? We'll be here for you, you won't be alone anymore," she said, smiling, as Yukari began to let tears fall from her eyes. "Why?" She began to cry and Issei approached to hug her. "That's it, let it all out, crying is good," Issei said, stroking his back. Time skip. Saturday. 3 days have passed since what happened with Yukari. She joined the club after apologizing to everyone in her class and stopping her pranks. She also caused a problem for all the girls Issei knows, except Horiyet, because the loli wouldn't leave his side, and even Ingvild got jealous and tried to keep Yukari away from Issei. The day was Saturday and it was Ria's visit. The girls were together talking about their things, and Kuroka had to take Tama away from Issei by taking her to the others, and speaking of the brunette, he was waiting for the academy bus where Rias was coming. Where will he want to go today? Issei wondered. Does it matter? After all, they'll end up in your room, Drake said, making Issei blush. Go to hell, Drake, Issei said. Just then the bus left the gate and when it stopped in front of Issei, the person who got out was not the one he expected, he frowned in annoyance and spoke. What are you doing here, Akeno? Issei asked, looking at the dark-haired girl who had her head down. What will happen? Only time will tell. Or the next chapter. End of chapter 6. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.